Hello, everybody. Let's bring this to a place here, this here, make this bigger, and here we go. Hope everybody's all right. Sunny day today and about roughly 32 degrees. Interesting. The usernames that I had changed for a while and then came back to the normal usernames on YouTube are now back to those weird usernames that were there before. So weird. So weird. I have no control over that. I mean, for digital mode decoding, Robert Cross, how you connect to use the software for like digital decode and stuff like that, or out of curiosity? Okay, we're going to start in a few seconds. I'll get all the pages that I need, EIBI space for the schedules. That will be one. We will get HF Underground for pirate activity. We will get Priam for number stations. So there's one in an hour, which is Slavic 06. So I don't know if we're going to hear that here. Maybe in Europe you guys are going to hear that one. Slavic 06, which I think comes from Poland, if I'm not mistaken. Let's check that out. In an hour it will be 21. So S06, actually it should be on right now on 7923. Curious. 7923. Upper sideband. Don't hear anything here, but anyways, 21 UT will be 5943, a pretty low frequency. So we'll see what that brings. Then we'll have the usual CW ones to try a little later. And we'll, of course, tune around, check out what's out there. So that's going to be good. And let's check for All India Radio. Been coming in well lately on 11900. English. 11900, guys. 11900. 11900 kilohertz. Akashvani or All India Radio is in English right now. So check it out. 11900. It's very strong here. Very strong here. I'm going to try it on the SDR. We'll see how good it is, and I'll have the audio driven to, there we go, it's AM, and 11900. So you guys might hear it. This is 11900 on the SDR. It is actually a lot better on my end-fed antenna on the Kenwood than it is on the loop. So 11900, go and check that out right now for India. And let's start. So I'm going to stop this. This. There we go. Put this down. So here we go. And all right, let's start this show. So welcome aboard, everyone. This is the Shortwave live show. We are here every Saturday at 20 hours Universal Time. This is a show where we gather together and do something that we don't often have the occasion to do, is radio listening in a gang. And as you know, everybody knows that it doesn't happen often. We have other people with us listening to this, the radio together. So this is the kind of the cool thing, because it is definitely fun to have all of you here, and we gather every Saturday so that you know what, we have fun with radio. We tune to bands, discover signals like Akashvani or radio, All India Radio in English. By the way, at 20 UTC, English is there. I'd say it's irregular, but at least 2 or 3 times a week they'll switch from their French language broadcast and go into English for like 10-15 minutes. So this is semi-regular, if we could say. And this comes, there's no relay, this comes direct from India on 11900 right now. So it's pretty cool for that. And so these are part of the things we do: tune to bands, talk about radio, answer questions, just have a lot of fun together. And so hope that you enjoy the show today. We have a beautiful chat room with wonderful people. If you want to join in, say hello. People here are extremely, extremely nice. We just have a great time together, and it's really a lot of fun to be here, honestly, and this is pretty cool. Also, after the live show is done, well, we do have a Facebook group with the same name as the channel here, official SWL channel. More than 4,300 members now, and lots of activity. People are really listening. Radios they have, what they're sharing, and new radios, and of course questions and answers of all sorts. It's a pretty active group, and it's a lot of fun, and it's really, really good to be here and have everybody here. That's for sure. So yeah, the 11900 is fluttery because it probably, I wouldn't be surprised that it comes maybe over the North Pole to us. So that would make it the direct line. This is a signal that's supposed to be for Europe, so that's pretty good here. Usually when there's a lot of flutter like that, maybe a slow AGC, radios that have AGC settings, slow AGC. This Kenwood has slow and fast AGC. Let me see if I switch from one to the other. Seems to be better maybe with the fast AJC. They do have a lot of distortion in their audio. This is one of the problems that's plaguing All India Radio or Akashvani for a long time. A lot of their broadcasts have a lot of distortion. Like right now, it's kind of over modulated. But hey, it's India. It's kind of cool to hear countries like that. So welcome aboard, everybody, and don't forget, if you like what I do, you have the ability to give a little something through the super chat here. There's a kind of a dollar bill sign in the chat where you can give me a little something through here, and of course there's the pizza fund and cat treats through PayPal, also at this email. If you send it through the official shortwaveradio@gmail.com, it's also going to go through. Everybody that gives a little something, whatever amount, Christmas show with Santa, 2 Canadian International DX Club memberships will be given away, and a surprise box. Yep, there'll be a surprise box. Santa has a gift. So this is coming at the Christmas show with Santa. That if we look at the dates here, the Christmas show with Santa will be, man, time flies, it's just incredible. So the Santa show would be on Saturday the 20th, just before Christmas. I will also announce it regularly from time to time, but in between Christmas and New Year, there will be one date that will be switched to Sunday. The Saturday the December 27th show will be switched to Sunday the 28th. So instead of a Zoom on the 28th, we'll have a regular show here. And the reason is that on the 27th, I will have a Christmas party at my nephew with my family. So the 27th, I'm not going to be here on December 27th. We'll just switch the show to Sunday the 28th instead. And of course, you guys in the US are going to have Thanksgiving coming up this Thursday. So happy Thanksgiving in advance to all of you. And hope that you have a good one. So this is going to be a lot of fun as we're going into the Christmas holiday and so on. So pretty cool. So welcome everyone. Bobby Burgess, Master Players, WA5107 SWL, Morgan City, Louisiana. Craig Martinetti from Ontario, Canada. Ron Animal from Toronto. Megan from Colorado. Welcome aboard. SWL Signals. Nice to have you here from Florida. Tosin Loaf from Alabama. And yeah, the time change is always like that. The time change, and I suspect, because I noticed that we go to easily almost every time 150 viewers and more, and that is every week. But I noticed that since we changed the time, that first hour is slower to build up in the number of people watching. So there's either one thing, the fact that it's an hour earlier for some maybe the first hour is more difficult for them to reach. And of course, there's I forgot that it's now an hour earlier because of the time change. That also happens. So, I almost did that mistake today. I was looking at the time and I was like, I still got a couple of hours. And realized, no, I don't have a couple of hours. I actually have only 1 hour left before the show starts. So I almost goofed off today and just, almost started an hour late. So, we did, I think a year or two in the past, way in the past, maybe 10 years ago, I think we would switch to 21 UTC. Does anybody remember that? I kind of recall that I remember when we had the time change, instead of staying at 20, I would switch to 21 UT because that would kind of keep the same time locally for most people. And I did that for a couple of years, but I thought, yeah, we live in UTC. Let's keep it UTC all the time, which is always the same thing, except, your local time, depending if you change clocks or not. Robert Cross, nice to have you on board. And he's starting to build the computer, power supply, last item. I'm waiting and hope everyone is keeping well. So cool. Gonna be nice to have that new computer there, Robert. Mike B, nice to have you on board from Colorado. We have Robert Cross, nice to have you here. We have Winston Garcia 7183, which I guess is another name usually. From Stockholm, Sweden, welcome aboard. Nice to have you here. Shortwave Archive, nice to have you on board from Colorado. I might buy a Dexter. What's the Dexter? I don't get what's a Dexter. Free to choose, which is Jean Arash, I believe. Nice to have you on board from Saint-Hyacinthe, Quebec. Nice to have you here. What's a Dexter? I don't get the what's a Dexter. Brian Leisner, nice to have you on board. 54 Cal, nice to have you here from Northwest Pennsylvania. RJ Dakota, nice to have you here from Winsville, Missouri. WA0113 is WL. The Rorax, nice to have you on board. And he says, would you say that 490 antenna is directional? The directional feature of a loop like the MLE30, the GA490 that I have, and so on, is mostly when signals tend to be local to you or not too far from you. So, for example, yes, it will be very directional on the medium wave band, on long wave, because of those signals are usually closer. In the low part of shortwave, so for example, I'm hearing CHU here. Since CHU is only about 100 miles from me, I actually could null out CHU when I turn the antenna. So right now it is positioned that CHU is in the maximum signal. So this is something that, yes, on some signal it is directional. But remember that on shortwave, as you go higher in frequency and the signals are much, much further away, that directional pattern is kind of lost. And it's generally not very directional on most shortwave bands in general, with signals that come from the other side of the world. Brad Shaver, nice to have you on board. And nice to have you here from North Illinois. What else do we have? Brian Leisner's from Philadelphia, and it's Dallas. Greetings from Philly. It's Dallas week. Okay. Nice to have you here. So Mike B says 7923 per sideband, nothing. Dex Farr, nice to have you here from Germany. And nice to have you here from Frankfurt. Pretty cool. Oscar X-Ray, nice to have you on board. Nice to have you here. Mike B has 11900 in Colorado. Skidology, nice to have you here. I kind of had a thought about your name this week. I was at the dollar store and there were these a huge bag of Skittles, and I was like, oh, it reminds me of Skidology. Robert Cross, that's it. You said SDR connect to the computer. Okay, do you mean to connect an SDR, like an SDR play device or things like that? Okay. Yeah, well, it's very simple. You simply connect the device through a USB cable, and you install the software, and then you install the device through a USB cable so that it installs its driver, and you restart the computer, and it's pretty easy. It just works, especially on SDR Play devices. It just works. Mr. Chuck Schick, nice to have you here from Cleveland, Ohio. By the way, if your name here is different from the name you have, don't hesitate to add your usual name that we see. And it's nice to have Blogger Die. Nice to have you here. And he says hello from me. Too chilly for the patio this week. Got my WoW antenna today. Wire out the window. Okay, I like that WoW antenna. So. Oh wow, this is so cool. Robert Page got his worked all states. Worked all states. Look at that, guys. KC5VOY. A Parks on the Air worked all states Hunter Award. Congratulations. This is great. Especially with a Parks on the Air activation, man. He says it took 5 years. I believe it. I believe it. And congratulations. This is so cool for that certificate. Really, really nice here. And so, congratulations. The Radical Squadron. So, what else do we have? Blogger Die has 11900, quite good with the Sparkalec DP666 with his wire antenna out the window. RJ Dakota here's 11900, but it's all chopped up by bad fluttering. So, yeah, it's coming from the polars. That's definite. Just by the type of signal that it is. All the flutter in it, it's definitely going through the pole. Brad Shaver Jill is the best. Thank you so much. Kevin is here and there. Nice to have you here from Detroit, Michigan. Always nice to see you too. And here it's sunny, and my weather station says it's +4 Celsius, which is roughly very close to 40 degrees Fahrenheit, I'd say. And All India Radio just shut down at 2023. Odd time to go off. It just got off. And let's try another one here. If you want to hear a signal from Madagascar, African Pathways from Madagascar Relay is coming in on 11965.
It is easier for human beings to hold to a wrong done against us. We believe that justice demands that we hold everyone accountable for all the wrongs they have done. Yet none of us wishes that for ourselves. We desire mercy and forgiveness to be shown to us, rather than pure justice pronounced upon us when we are guilty. Why is it we find
not too bad of a signal. That's 13,000 kilometers from Montreal, which is always amazes me. Let's check out on the SDR here how 11965 is coming in. Here, not bad of a signal here. So this is what it sounds like on the SDR.
Most unfair to the weak, the poor, and those who have no defenses. However, to refuse to forgive is a great obstacle to resolving conflict. We hold and harbor our hurts and anger and use them to define who we are in relation to others.
No, not too bad.
I don't like that person because he did so-and-so. I don't like those people because they once did so-and-so to my people. On and on it goes, and nothing good.
So that's on the SDR. It's better once again on the end-fed antenna on my Kenwood R5000.
It is not saying that a wrong that took place is not important, or that something that was wrong is suddenly okay. Forgiveness is not really about releasing guilt or consequences. From a personal and communal...
So that comes from Madagascar. Not too bad. Not too bad. What else do we have? So RJ Dakota says barely warm enough for him to go outside. Shortwave archive 11900 week and floater with some audio in Colorado. XH data D808 telescopic. David Head, nice to have you here from Los Angeles. And we have Simon Templar, nice to have you on board. Are you still having fun with your Texan receivers? Hope that you are. Brian Leisner, 11900, not here. Today's using the Malahide DSP2. John Beckham, nice to have you here from Northeast Florida. Enshore says 11900, okay, in Northeast MN, Minnesota, I guess. What else do we have? Empty carrier of Radio Vanny Cuba on 11880. Yeah, that happens. That does happen. Tustin Loaf, here's 11900, pretty good on Memphis Kiwi SDR. Chuck Schreiber, nice to have you here, and 5KVO from sunny South Texas. Old Radios, nice to have you on board. And says got a couple of radio-related things yesterday. Cool. Next far. Well, it's nice to have you here now, my friend, even though it's been a while. Old Radio says about this speaker table thing that goes with my 1928 Radiola 60. Cool. Vidhead, what would be a good portable antenna for my S2200X beside the MLA30 Plus I have mounted on my roof? I'm looking for something when on the move. Honestly, there's two things on the move. It depends where you're going on the move. So if you're going just like in a park or anything, nothing beats just throwing a wire up a tree and work with that. It just works great. Don't need anything fancy. The MLA30 is actually even better. The GA490 that I purchased is really good for that, because actually when you fold it with the loop and everything, it's extremely easy to bring that with you somewhere in a very small package, set it up quickly, 5-10 minutes, have that working wherever you are, and then fold it back. And the reason the GA490 is great is it has in the bias T a battery. So when the battery's charged, you can actually set up in a park, anywhere. You don't need to power it because the internal battery of the bias T will power it for hours before so you know it's great for that. The MLA30, it would work also, but you would need to have a battery pack with you, some kind of a battery pack. Where the GA490, which is nice, and also has all the connectors already for the S2200X, which you don't have to, go crazy as finding the correct connector. So the GA490 would be one. If it's going out in parks and places like that, I'm going to tell you, you don't need anything else than just like, a couple of dozen feet of wire, and you just throw it up a tree for temporarily. Blonde Man, nice to have you on board. Old radios I found. I Love branded HD Radio 2. Cool. VA3 JPX, nice to have you here. Blonde Man, we were able to chase HARP through the Anchorage Kiwi SDR. I didn't have, a crazy thing this week, just didn't have a lot of time. So I ended up I had maybe like half an hour here and there and trying to tune around the HARP activity. But I did see posts on the World of Radio group of a lot of people mentioning they were hearing the different signals being broadcast, the sweeps and all sorts of tones that were actually moving through frequency ranges. Even one that was interfering with CHU time signal on 3330 at some point, apparently. So pretty interesting. Apart from that, what do we have? Old radios in the works, but not much on that hybrid digital signal. Yeah, it depends where you are. There are places that have more HD than others. Here in Montreal, we have maybe 6 stations that are on HD, all on the FM band with the HD2 and HD1, HD2 signals. John Beckham 11900 Audible in Northeast Florida. Scatology 11900 coming in weak and floatery for me too. All radios, not much, but stations that do seem to come in decent. Robert Cross, good news, Jill. Next time you be having Zoom, I have a good computer by then. Cool. Simon Templar, yes, you switched. Nice to have you here. Shortwave Archive, remember when you used to do Saturday and Wednesday live shows? Yeah, a while back. Demands a lot of energy, so it's better to do one and keep it than do 2 or 3 and then get to a point where you need to take it easy. So like I find this to be kind of just perfect. Once a week, it was great. Usually do, we almost always do 4 hours. And tonight we're going to do maybe 3.5, something like that, because there's the CIDX Zoom, for those that are members of the Canadian International DX Club that I was talking about, at 0 UT, 7 p.m. Eastern. It's the Canadian International DX Club Zoom meeting tonight. So I probably will do about like 3.5 hours. And then take a few minutes to eat and go and check out the CIDX Zoom meeting. Rick Myers, K040SA, nice to have you on board from Florida. Been monitoring Inmarsat Satellite 3F5 with the RSPDX, RTL SDR patch antenna, plus playing on FT8 10 meters occasionally. Pretty cool. Tosalov, I guess I need a new schedule for HARP. I was going to try some more. Well, now HARP is the test. This research campaign has stopped yesterday. It was the last day yesterday. So now, for now, there's nothing else scheduled for HARP right now. Thank you, Brian, for the PayPal donation. Much appreciated. Let's check out here. I always like to thank everybody that do donations. I'm just going to check out what we have here. And also in the emails, see if anybody else is... Started to do my Christmas tree here. It's just the beginning, but it's going to be soon. So thank you, Kevin Davidson, Blogger Die, for the donation through PayPal. Brian Leisner, thank you so much for the donation through PayPal also. It is much appreciated. And I did see that somebody has done a donation also here, which is, let's just go here. Thank you, Tristan, for the donation from Newfoundland, Canada. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. What else do we have? John Beckham, nice to have you on board. Starting to figure out the DGD 1131 finally. Aha. Yeah, I need to take out mine. It's right there in front of me, actually, on my little stand. I should play with it a little more. And it's a fun little radio. It's a very unusual radio, but it's fun. I'm mistaken. Not 1103, 1131. Sorry, I mixed the radios. Blagodai tried 11900 and Sanjian ETS 405 that has an AJC setting on 30 dB. 50 dB and auto with 30 there is no fluttering. Yeah, the thing about the AJC is to try when it flutters a lot, you put it at slow. The slow AJC is usually what happens is it actually makes the signal, the slope of the signal so slow that it kind of eliminates part of that fluttering. Iman do Orti, nice to have you here. Brad Shaver, what is the drink of the day? It is a beer, a Labatt beer, Labatt Dry, Blue Dry. So that's the drink of the day. And I am well. Always nice to have you here, Iman. Blandman says, my Texan AN200 arrived. It's an awesome antenna for sure. Yeah, great little antenna for medium wave. Really, really nice. Darren Bott, nice to have you here from Plymouth, UK. Yeah, with the coupling from the loop antenna to the ferrite, the internal ferrite, it's pretty cool to have it working. What else do we have? What else do we have? Fat Bear, nice to have you on board. We have Brian says my weather sensor 51 Fahrenheit in Philly, kind of a great day. Tomorrow is supposed to have a little bit of light snow, and it'll be around 32 Fahrenheit, 0 Celsius. Mike B has 11965 in Southwest Colorado. Winston Garcia, is there any experience within the group regarding size changes in the loop of the MLA 30 Plus? Can be improved performance modifying the size of the loop? Yeah, I know some people have done it, and that they seem to say that it did improve their reception. That and changing the coax that comes from the amplifier to the bias T. Blogadai 11965 is good. ZY3OWR, nice to have you on board. Generally recently weak, maybe just my area, but most of the strong station include for my target are weak beside Radio Romania when it's on. And one of the things you got to be careful is also making sure to manage to see how much noise you have. Sometimes we might have the impression that signals are weak, but the noise floor around us is so high that it's mostly the noise floor that's creating the bad problems more than the fact that it isn't strong enough, and that is a big problem. This is where when you go to a park, it's really, really, really different. John Beckham, 11965, coming into Northeast Florida. My Ceodon R108, cool. Free to choose, yeah, 11965 is African Pathways. It's actually the part of the Madagascar World Voice, which is in reality the same religious organization that is behind the KNLS broadcast out of Alaska. So they're all pretty much the same organization behind it. Robert Varner, nice to have you on board for KC2TEL in New Jersey. Simon Templar, I'm most definitely still having fun with the PL330 and PL880. Pretty cool. Radical Quadrant of Beauty, part of all states award from Parks on the Air was District of Columbia, was a wild card. Yeah, there's a couple like that are extremely difficult to have because the sheer amount of hams from that area are not very high, so you got to be there at the right time to operate that station. It's just crazy. Just crazy. So, Vinhead, thank you for the information. Great content. Doesn't know if I hear those Parks on the Air stations once in a while. Yeah, it's a big thing. Parks on the Air is a very, very big thing. So and it for a lot of people, a lot of hams are saying that the Parks on the Air and all related things, Islands on the Air and so on, have in some way revived amateur radio. Because it now gives new challenges to amateur radio operators. So it's kind of cool, It's anything that makes amateur radio, more popular. Is great, So Robert Cross, wow, that's a lot of money. I hope it works well, and it's must be very powerful. Very powerful. Probably pretty good to do some gaming on that. Tosanlov says, yeah, it's kind of like special event stations in some way, for sure. Blagadai, I always power my MLA 30 Plus with a battery pack, a very small battery pack, just to make sure the pack stays on with low current draw. Yeah, because it depends on the battery pack you use. Some battery packs actually shut down because the current draw is so small that the battery pack thinks there's nothing plugged, and it actually shuts down itself. So you got to be careful with that. All the radios have some 405 HD, yeah. And did you check out the content, the extra content they have? Some of them will probably have HD2, HD1, HD2. HD3 with extra content with different programming. Ajay Dakota, do you have a link or description so that I can look at the antenna you described, not the MLA30, your new one? Yep. Let me just find the link here. I'll just search for the antenna. So the Shibo GA 490. And so this one is this is a link from Amazon. Here we go, copy. So this is a link from Amazon right now. That is definitely not the price that I paid for it. Paid a lot less than that, but this will give you an idea of what's included and what it looks like. It's really like an MLA30, but with the extra bonus of having everything you need to put it up, and also all the extra connectors for portable radios. Comes with, a deconnector for pullable radio antenna jacks. Comes with the connector for a BNC, even adapters. It has pretty much everything you need. And plus that bias T with the internal battery. Kind of cool when the power goes out, it still works. As far as hearing the buzzer at 4625 kilohertz, we can try it a little later. I would guess it will be there a little later to check out. We'll see if we can hear it over here. It's a tough one here, 4625. I heard it. We're in November. I heard about. It was about September, I guess. I heard it the last time. I had not heard the buzzer in a long time, and I actually received it with my portable antenna, my portable radio with the telescopic antenna on the backyard. Not even a fancy antenna. It was kind of interesting. Bloggerdi has a existential crisis. He can't locate his DX286. Panic mode engaged. Ajay Dakota says, I used to get some HD FM stations here, but that seems to have stopped completely in the past couple of weeks. That's interesting. I know that some stations are turning off their HD because, you know, there's a cost related to it. So, Andy New, nice to have you on board. M7CUN from the UK. Does some love. When they ionize the atmosphere with HARP, it should affect propagation on other frequencies, not necessarily anywhere near where they're transmitting. I thought maybe similar to sporadic e-propagation. Yeah, it's very limited. You know, people have the impression that HARP is doing like amazing changes in everything. It's extremely concentrated in their own little space above the antennas. People tend to over think that ARP is like so powerful that it changes things, like, you know, people thinking it changes the weather. It's actually so insignificant in its power level in reality compared to the Earth that it has a very small effect. It does and will have maybe an effect on signals that would actually cross there. But once you just move away from the area, the effects stop almost immediately. So the rest is just we're getting signals that propagate through standard, you know, propagation on shortwave. Brian Leisner, switching over to my new toy, the NRSPST, and the Malahite 2 fiddly to play with on the fly. Cool. Andy New, tonight's Tipple Brewdog Black Heart Stout. Cool. Enjoy. Joseph in San Francisco Bay, California. Nice to have you on board. Thinking about playing with repositioning my MLA 30 Plus today. You know, it could be very, very interesting. I've noticed that these loops, you just position it 1 feet further or 2 feet further or whatever. You move it around and you get huge differences in reception. So it's not a bad idea to play around and try different areas when you set it up. Marvin Motz, I would guess, good morning from frigid Beijing, China. Nice to have you here. The Vaults, nice to have you on board from Latvia. John Beckham, are you familiar with the Canadian band called Lunched at Allen's? Ian Thomas headlines the band. No, I'm not. I've never heard that name. Maybe I should add that to my music repertoire. Jet NG, nice to have you here. Says hearing 11965 on the Elite right now. And Andy New says 108 watching, 116 right now actually, and only 32 likes. Come on. Brian Leesner, I just realized this. It's not possible to properly tag people in a group using an app on Firefox now. Art Dodd, nice to have you here from New Jersey, K2ADC. Sid MQ6DT, nice to have you on board. Pulled up his Jupiteru MVT7100 at a storage. Totally forgot about it. Not been used for 10 years. We'll be testing the MLA 30 Plus. Cool. I almost had one of those long time ago. It was one of my, when I wanted to have one of the new radios, new scanner radios of the day, it was one of my choices back in the day. I was like, okay, I'd like to have the that Jupiteru. It was one of my my top choices. Well, speaking of QRM and receive antenna, okay, check that out here. SDR switch, 100 watts receive and receive in, receive out SDR switch. Okay, so this, okay, so you put your transceiver and it switches between, okay, the receive of the SDR when you're listening with a different antenna, I would guess. This is interesting. Receive in, out, transceivers. Switch is a very versatile product designed to work with your current transceiver. It will allow you to safely insert, amongst other things, an SDR, receive, a bandpass filter, preamp, low noise amplifier, attenuator. Looks interesting. Kind of an interesting. I'll keep that in the there's one thing for sure is that experiment I did with MDK2, our friend Matt in Colorado. It's when we tried to connect or contact each other on 80 meters, it was obvious that I was running, of course, my ESU FTDX10 into NFED with very high noise, and he could hear me. I couldn't hear him, but it was very interesting to see that with the MLA30 loop on the SDR, I actually could receive him because the loop and the SDR with that loop has lower noise. So I was like, wow, I can actually receive him. It's just that the Yaesu doesn't receive him because the noise is too high. So, that definitely having some form of maybe switch on the lower bands like 40, 80, and 160 would particularly be interesting for that, because being able to receive and transmit using two different, receivers and antennas would be kind of an interesting thing. Skitology. So the main problem I had this whole time not being able to pick up stations was that I had RTL AJC enabled on SDR Sharp. They said not to enable that. Aha. Blacker Die Amazon US says both the Texan PL330 and XH Data D808 on sale for the Black Friday week until December 1st. John Beckham, remember the Galena Crystal with the cat's whiskers? Yep. Good old days of radio reception, and it was just cool. It was magical, So what else do we have? Loudman had a problem with the XH Data D808. That's kind of interesting. Maybe he had a defective one. Because it's in general it's really, really good receiver. Jim Gordon, nice to have you here from Scotland. We have Toast and Love. I've got a little battery pack that does that. Annoying. Most projects I come up with have a low power drain. Yeah, what you do is you build yourself. There's tons of these little circuits on the internet. You just put yourself just a little circuit that draws a little piece, a little bit of power, like with an LED on that circuit board, and with a USB connector. And what you do is that you plug that in at the same time that you plug any low power devices that you have, so that the device always, the battery pack always keeps, knows that there's something and just always stays on. Yeah, that's what I think, Bloodman, that you probably had a faulty one, that by random faulty radio. ZY3WR, what is the buzzer? Is this really 24 hours for years? Absolutely. It's a Russian signal on 4625. Lately, it has been more active with voice. There has been some reports of hearing voice broadcast over the buzzer stops, and then you hear these voices which usually give out names, Russian names, and so it's some sort of signal of military, or it's very difficult to know exactly what it is. It's very secretive, but some has something to do probably with the Russian military, and it's been on. I don't remember the first date that it's been reported, but it's been on something like since the 70s, and it's there 24 hours a day, buzzing away. And if you use a Kiwi SDR online and go on 4625 upper sideband, actually, I'll do that and let you guys hear that that signal. It definitely is been there for a long time. If you guys want to try, I don't think I'll hear it here. I'll actually try it with this, because this with the loop is better. 5943 upper sideband. They're supposed to be so 5943. A little interfered with 5945. There's something there. It says Slavic 06. So Slavic 06, if I click on the page, it's a mail carrier. It comes from Moscow, Russia. Actually comes from a couple of Russian sites. And it sends digits with a Russian, it's called a Russian 6 operator, a male voice. So that will be interesting. I don't think we'll hear that here, but what I will do is actually click on the, see if we hear it on the SDR. I'm on the U20 SDR right now. We'll see if that comes in there on the U20 SDR. If it does, I'll let you guys hear it. So 5943 upper sideband is the frequency for this. 943 kilohertz USB at 21 UTC, and that's in 2 minutes time. So if you guys want to try it. Robert Cross used to receive a buzzer, also in Ireland. I've never heard it since. You should be hearing it quite easily there. And then you has the buzzer coming in on 4625. Joseph, oops, forgot to unplug my MLA30 Plus when I was moving it. Oh, likely to damage it when just touching the antenna or moving it around. I don't think there will be any problems unless you would have some strong you know, if you would have like static electricity, things like that, okay, that could be a problem. But for the rest, that shouldn't be much of a problem. So, John Beckham, according to your shirt, Montreal, Quebec is the place to meet in. Yeah, this is a shirt for the, actually it's my friend that died a month ago and given me this shirt. This is for the Montreal Expo, the World's Fair of 1967. So it's like the World's Fair, official like World's Fair t-shirt of the time, Expo 67. So this is what it is. This is, of course, the United States sphere, that the pavilion for the United States. So this is actually the Expo 67 t-shirt, which was, I wasn't born back then. So that's the official t-shirt. It's one kind of looks like the official t-shirt. So it's my friend who gave it to me. He said, oh, you like shirts that have, you know, designs and stuff. So that's what it is all about. So I'm not hearing anything on the U20. So I'm wondering if it's really on. 5943 doesn't seem to be active. So we'll keep it like this. And in an hour, we'll have the CW ones, the ones in Morse code that we usually try. So we'll try that at that time and see if we hear anything. Apart from that, do I hear... Let's check out... 25,000 kilohertz, 25 megahertz is coming in for WWV. Richard Wagner, nice to have you on board. Says bad back spasms. Hope you feel better, man. Nice to have you here from Northeast Illinois. Brian Leesner for GA490 is ordered. Yeah, it's gigawatts and gigawatts. I mean, it's like every even a tiny solar flare on the sun is like one of those big megaton nuclear explosions that we did here, and we're talking about the small tiny flares. So imagine. The big flares, it's millions of those. It's amazing the amount of energy. Schedology, I can rarely get 15770 in the afternoon. It becomes clear in the evening. Yeah, 15770. Let's check it out here. Which is WRMI in Florida. So 15770 coming in decently here in Montreal, 15770. So it's pretty cool. So that means if you hear 15770 in Northeast Florida, the skip is very short. Maybe you have some sporadic E-skip happening over Florida. It's not impossible. Joseph, where I live, right near the coast of California, WWVH sometimes interferes so much on my Texan PL680 that it just sort of over amplifies and I can't hear much except like the intermodulation. Yeah, that's why you have these options to put it in. You have the DX, you have the local switch, you have like 3 settings I think on the PL680, so you can actually lower the sensitivity of the PL680 to help out when that happens. Bloodman, yeah, but then the crazy thing with the defective D808 is Amazon seller was official radio hour EU store. Yeah, maybe it was one of the bad ones in the lot, and you were unlucky. Almay Sam, nice to have you here. Marvin Motz, it's magical. Everything about radio is magical. I tried to talk to expert PhD physicists about radio, and their eye glaze over and they say, I don't understand. Yeah. You gotta be in that mood or that mode where you find it amazing. It's not everybody that does. Steve Burnham, nice to have you here from Central Pennsylvania. Brian Leesner, looks like I got last G490 on Amazon US. Keeps pushing me to a K180 WLA as variant. Invoice says G490. But with Amazon, who knows? Yeah, well, it should be. Yeah, the GA490 comes in a box, a big box. It says Toshiba on the box. The K180 WLA is a very similar antenna. But I find the GA490 seems to be somewhat better. Don Royal, nice to have you here from Sun City, Arizona. Blondman says, I've noticed on XH Data R108, when you connect external antenna and switch to medium wave band, it will use the external antenna, while it does not work on the D808. Yeah, it's possible. It's possible. I've never tried it, actually, on the R108. Jim Gordon, nice to have you here. How many here think that the Texan PL330 is a marked improvement over the Texan PL310 ET? Oh, it definitely is. I don't have the ET version. I have the original PL310, and the original PL310 is, compared to the PL330, slightly deaf. I need to take it out. I have it here somewhere. I think I see it up there. I need to take it out. I need to take out all the old radios that I had that I haven't played with in a long time. We've also experimented with decoding via splitter, via same antenna. RSP1A versus DX10 on 80 meters. There is a software that allows to compare signal noise ratio difference for FT8 by matching two logs. The X10 won by almost 9 dB. I wouldn't be surprised. Jim Gordon, some of us remember Expo 67. May your late friend rest in peace. Yeah, I wasn't born yet. I was born in 69, so I wasn't born when that happened. But everybody that I know that lived through that tell me that it's one of the most fascinating, amazing things they've lived through and seen in their lives. Expo 67 here in Montreal, which, for those that don't know, was built on an island that was actually created for that event. And yeah, if you guys didn't know that, the island where the expo happened did not exist. It's when we built our subway here in Montreal, all the rock from the subway had to go somewhere. And they had the idea of, hey, let's dump that in the St. Lawrence River and create a big island where we will have Expo 67. Blackguard Eye, WWV, nice to have you here. WWV on 25 megahertz. I saw you're very nice, and it was like, nice to have you here. I just, my brain completed the sentence. Loudman says, ordered a AMN Volt V4. Have you looked at it? Looks like an interesting device with custom German firmware. Yeah, I saw that thing. Looks kind of interesting. And it decodes digital modes and stuff, yeah. Does look interesting. Big problem here is nothing that I can purchase is you know what? It's just what I was talking about. I was reading Jasmine's comment while I was trying to talk. My brain just froze in the middle of everything. So so there's many of those things, like the these weird devices. I'm waiting for my DP666 thing that I can't wait to see how it works. Mike B, 15770, strong in Southwest Colorado. Jasmine says, the guy who does the comms channel YouTube channel is going to do a video about our mesh core mesh here in Cascadia. I talked to him on the mesh yesterday. I'll email you the link. I'd like that. Tell him that if he could do it, if he does a really good video on explaining all of the comms and what it implicates, what you need and everything, I would be happy to share it with the audience of this channel so people here can also understand what it's all about. Do tell him that I'd be very happy to share his video. If it would be, I think it would be. I got in the last month at least 3 or 4 people saying, "What's all this mesh thing that Jasmine's talking about, and I just can't explain it. I need more knowledge on it. So that would be probably really nice, Jasmine. So please do share the links, and I'll share that on the channel, and I'll, at the same time, I'll try to educate myself on that too. Free to choose 15770. It's possible. It's what if I look at the WRMI schedules. I don't know if here it's going to show on EIBI. At 22 to 20, we're at 21 right now. So 21, it doesn't show any specific type broadcast, just says WRMI. So they must have some. I would have to go and check out the official WRMI schedule page. Some broadcasts that they have on the air. They've been having all sorts of interesting programming and a lot of World Radio Network programming also on WRMI lately. So there's a lot of stuff. I've been almost daily, I've been listening to Radio Polonia English hour on WRMI at, what was it, 22, 23 UT? It's super interesting. So it's kind of cool to have that. Blogger died. There was something in a voice announcement on WWV about a test transmission. I just caught the tail end of it. Maybe they were talking about the 8 minute past the hour, the tones. They have a test transmission with tones at the 8 minute past the hour, unless they have something else or something new that I didn't know. So, what else do we have here? No joy for 5943. Donner Royal Uniden expected to start shipping Uniden SDS 150 scanner starting December 12th. $950. Youch. That's a lot of money. A lot of money. So nice to have you here, Jasmine. Well, I can't wait. We'll have to go out to lunch, go out to karaoke or something, Jasmine. It'll be fun. Let me just go down. Dusseldorf has 25s, kind of weak. 20 weaker. 15 and 10 strong, Alabama. MM7 BFL radio. Nice to have you here from Scotland. Blonde man was born in 99. A little younger than me. Danielson, nice to have you here. Yeah, the PL398, I got that one too. It does totally look like a stereo version of the PL310, honestly. In performance and the way it is, it really, really looks like a stereo version of the PL310. Brian. Loudman says, why not try out the PL310 ET now on stream and see what we can catch with that little beauty? Well, the problem is I'm not equipped to have it working here live in front of everybody, because I don't think, first of all, it has an external... Does it have an external antenna connector on it? I think it doesn't. And so I'm not... In this room, I won't catch anything with all the noise. I'd have to take it out. I think that's the one it is. I'm not sure. I got one up there that looks like it, but I got so many that look alike that I'm not sure. Kamikaze 76, nice to have you on board from West Michigan. Jim Gordon, I had 3 PL310s. The first was really deaf on shortwave. The second used to overload and oscillate on strong signals. The third was just right and really sensitive. Thanks and quality controls variable. It was mostly back in the day. Today it seems to me much better. But those old, those are from the era of the first, a lot of the first Texan receivers back then. And I suspect one other thing also is I suspect that some sellers that aren't very, how to say, honest, they get a bad radio that somebody returned, and they keep it and try to sell it to somebody else, and hope they'll keep it and not see that it's not working well. That is the biggest, for me, my biggest problem with sellers on internet. Are you keeping the bad ones and trying to give them to somebody else? No, that's a good price, Bloodman, $40. Wow. Ryan Leesner, I have an ATS Mini V4 CNC aluminum version on the way. These are fun to play with and surprisingly good. Cool, Jasmine. Will be a lot of fun. If we can share all the mesh goodness among everyone, it'd be a lot of fun and educate ourselves. Bloodman, that TF6686 Deepelec I was also watching for. Looks sweet. Yeah, I got it for a decent price, and I thought, because radios here are dreadfully expensive now in Canada. So if I can get something in a decent price range, I just go for it. And that one was, for me, a decent price range. So there's apparently a pirate, WJFK on 6955, spotted at 2108. So it's 6955. I'm hearing it with music. Yeah, coming in quite well here. 6955 WJFK Pirate on right now. And not too bad. So this is our first pirate for the night, if you want to try it. Blogger Die. Since I had a PL390, that was sort of the stereo version of PL380, but it had an external antenna jack. Yeah, I think the one that's stereo has a external antenna jack. You kind of remind me that I think they added that on that one. I need to go through my radios again. And I got 2 boxes there on my right of radios that I stored when we had to actually go around and mess up all the room here for a reason. And I've not taken the box back out. So I need to check that out for sure also. There's a lot of old radios I need to get back out and play with for sure. I started doing, I just did one, and I didn't have time to do any other. I need to do more. I'm hoping this week to actually complete a lot. By the way, if anybody has a radio they'd like to share, maybe Blogger Die, you have ideas of radios that you think are worth the, let's add those to, I could actually do a video and just put, Blogger Die's choice on it. It's with the link to your excellent blog, and do these are the radios that I think would be great gifts for Christmas. I'm hoping this week to make a lot of them. I have a lot of time to do it. Only Tuesday. Tuesday is the day. It's hospital day with tons of things. But for the rest of the week, I'm hoping to have time for that. So if you want to do that, Blogger Die, could be kind of cool to have the I'll put mine, and we could have the blog or die choice of receivers and for Christmas. John Beckham, I can hear WWV on 25,000 kHz in Northeast Florida on the CO on R108. Dusseldorf, I was thinking of they had mesh on shortwave, it would have to be slower, less bandwidth, but text doesn't need much bandwidth. Yeah, for text stuff, and definitely don't need that much. Yeah, I guess because they do announce it. They do say, like, we have a test transmission and blah, blah, blah. And I think it's the one that's on the 8-minute, which is their usual test transmission. But you know what? It's good to listen to it because you never know when they could add another one or change or do a new one. So it's good to listen to the message. Hey, Perry in Sherbrooke, Quebec. Nice to have you here. Jim Gordon has a Guinness in pint cans. Toasting you all. So let's go. Cheers. What's Paul's favorite drink? Water. He likes water. I actually need to go to the vet because he's been drinking water like crazy for the last couple of weeks or months. And he's a big fat cat, so I'm starting to wonder if he's not maybe having diabetes or something. So I really need to bring him to a vet. I wish I was born earlier, but unfortunately I couldn't choose. Well, there's advantages and there's a bad side to going younger. So obviously I was born in '69. That's 30 years. You're probably going to be here when I'm not anymore and see things I will never see. So there's an advantage to that for you also. I am totally happy to have seen what radio was like way back in the 80s and late 70s. Computer revolution being like having my first today, it's people take that for granted. Having a computer or having these things, back in my day, it's like, the computer revolution. It's like having my first Commodore VIC-20 and seeing the computer revolution as the generations and the new technologies. I'm kind of find it really cool that I've seen that, but you guys will see other stuff. You guys will see your own technology go through your own stuff. Look at Jasmine with the mesh stuff. That's the same thing. It's like there's other types of technologies and other things now, and people that are younger are going through that revolution, and there's other stuff to see and to go through. Brian Lee's the beer tonight is a Diet Coke. I have a Tomcat upgrade to do at work later. Yeah, it's all right. Diet Coke's fine, especially if you're working later. David P. Miller, nice to have you here from New Jersey. Old radios. Anyone get annoyed when a website randomly signs them out? Yeah, well, there are websites that are made like that. There are websites that you sign in but have a timer. They'll sign you out after a certain amount of time, in case, especially if you're not active or don't do anything. It does happen. David P. Miller says WWV25 coming in strong all day long on the Eton exec with antenna. Yeah, this is a time now of day that of the year. Sorry.
Amy with Procter & Gamble, which released its first cold water detergent to much value in
15770 is now English, and they're talking about cold water detergent.
2 cents about its advanced detergents in the press release. but the research appears in dyes and pigments of peer review journal.
Very good signal on 15770. So let me check out here. I wonder if on my... So you got to make sure that you buy cold water soap, apparently, according to Mr. on the... Here's what Mr. has to say on my SDR. Oh. Seems that now it's music. But he did say that we have to buy cold water detergents. Apparently. So, maybe some kind of a broadcast to save the planet. Oh, here we go. They're back.
There's some more interesting little things that people share
with us. Mickey Mantle. Some may know who he is, some may not. He played for the New York Yankees, a baseball player, and hit lots of home runs.
So it's talking of Mickey Mantle.
Food in your mouth. You have solved all the questions for the time being. And going to be a little heavier direction, Franz Kafka. Photography is a way of feeling, of touching, of loving. What you have caught on film is captured forever. It remembers little things long after you have forgotten everything. Another photographer, Aaron Siskin, says 3 things cannot be long hidden: the sun, the moon, and the truth. Buddha wanted to chime in with, we choose our joys and sorrows long before we experience them.
So that was 15770. I don't know what program that is. It's one of those programs that are on in the schedule listings of WRMI and Okeechobee, Florida. Tosanov, 10, 11 meters, going good. Yeah, winter is great for that. And I need to... I'm trying to figure out a new install. My Yaesu is in the kitchen, and... I mean, I could put it back here for doing FT8 and stuff. But with my Karen on the other side of that wall, I'm starting to think that I might want to keep my Yaesu in the kitchen somehow, and operate from there when I want to do ham radio in a separate place. It's just that I like to have the FTDX10 with the screen here. And another thing that I was thinking is, well, maybe set up in a way that I can also operate and do a live show, for example, from the kitchen with the FTDX10 when I want to, and sometimes here, sometimes in the kitchen, kind of set up a little, thing that looks good for the camera. So I don't know. I'm looking at what I'm gonna do, but yeah. It's kind of interesting. I'm thinking about what I'm going to do. What else do we have? Let's go down. Loudman, most of the time, it's happening on Amazon due to their return policy. On AliExpress, it doesn't happen as often. Yeah, I wonder if they I got this week. This is like, it's in everything. So I wanted to have a Wi-Fi 7 adapter because my router modem combo is a Wi-Fi 7 thing. And I want to have, I'm a gigabit speed. I want to have gigabit speed on Wi-Fi. So I purchased a very expensive Wi-Fi 7 dongle on Amazon. I mean, it has these little antennas and everything on it to put on my laptop. The crappiest thing that I've ever seen. Performance is horrible. It says that it does connect to my router at 1400 megabits per second up down. But when you do the test, it's like it's my Wi-Fi 6 stuff actually is faster. So I'm going to return it now, and I'm like, dang, you can't. I don't know. You know, I'll give it. It has some good notes, some good grades from people. So I'm thinking maybe it's an incompatibility simply with my modem doesn't like it. The chipsets don't match well or something. So I'm not poo-pooing it. I'm not saying it's a bad one. I'm kind of just saying, well, I guess for me it's not a good one. But you know, it's like radios, bad radios. It's like you buy something, you get it, and performance is like, what the hell is that? It's kind of, you know, sad because you're hoping that you're gonna have something that works great. DJK Solo. What am I tossing? Baofeng UV5R. I got one here. What could I say? What most people don't know is that it's an illegal device to own. And that actually I was reading here in Canada the ISED as a statement on these that they've actually officially put out, saying that an agent from the ISED that would go in the field and see you in a UV5R could confiscate it. It's lawful for him to take it away from you because they're not supposed to be here and they're not supposed to be sold here. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. And the FCC has a very similar statement. I know that a lot of European countries are now actually banning the Baofeng's UV5R for a very simple reason. They simply put in law that the spurious signal emissions from the device are outside the acceptable limits of a device. So I'll just leave it at that because technically we shouldn't own those. They shouldn't even be sold here. And all the other huge amounts of, including the XH data ones and so on. It's a very complicated issue. So I'd rather not even talk or even share anything about those. Sid MQ6DT, yeah, you know what? The PL680 is definitely an improvement on the 600 in many aspects, including much better audio, for sure. Joseph, nothing on the West Coast in California for 6955. Mason barely hears it. Mike B, 6955, not making it to Colorado. UEBDH P5X, hi, nice to have you here. Tosinlov, his hearing 6955, pretty good. Simon Templar not picking up the pirate here in Mount Hood. Here's my list of shortwave radios, great for Christmas presents, says Simon Templar. Simon Templar, so BL330, BL880. I like that. ZY3WR, apparently it's not weak and it just was my setup to catch up some stations, so back to normal. Cool. Blogged I saw an announcement online that Radio Pilipinas was resuming operations December 1st. So, yeah, I believe I heard, I think it's Glenn Hauser's World of Radio. So, what I hope and what I wish, let's all hope for that. Let's hope that this could happen to Radio Thailand. I would like to have Radio Thailand back. I mean, I miss listening to Radio Thailand every night. So let's hope that Radio Thailand could also have that exception to the rule and resume transmissions. That would be just great. Jasmine says the bandwidth is 62.5 kilohertz wide. That's a pretty wide bandwidth. John H, nice to have you here. WWV 20,000 kilohertz in Wisconsin. Doesn't know if that digital mode PSK31 does real-time text with just about 31 hertz. Oh yeah, PSK31 is very, very narrow, and it's really, really cool. Free to Choose says 6955 sounds cool. Oldies. Are they still there? I'm don't hear it anymore. I don't know. I think if maybe it's not there. David P. Miller, as far as rigs for gifting, I'd like to see a review of the Texan DX7 9700. Inexpensive, easy to operate for people not tech savvy, great audio, and a lot of bang for your buck. Yeah, the problem with that is the DX 9700, just to give you an idea. Okay, I'm going to go and check Anonco. Oh, I think it's back. It's not. I don't know. Not hearing anything. So Anonco. They must be selling still the 9700. So you see the 9700 would come out to something like 80 Canadian dollars, which I find so expensive for what it is. But then again, a lot of you are saying that it's surprisingly good. What I could do, because I like to buy them, but maybe I could ask Anna. I mean, she did give me a Texan S2200X. Maybe I could ask Anna. Would you be able to send me a 9700 free of charge so that I can test it and do a review? Maybe I'm guessing she probably might have said yes, for sure. So yeah, I'm gonna write Anna, and I'm gonna ask for 9700. See if she's willing to send me one for free, and check it out. John Beckham, Summer 69 with Canada's Bryan Adams. Yeah, I saw him in concert, a month and a half ago. It was a great concert. It was just amazing. Sid MQ6DT, PL330 external medium wave. Yep. PL680 does not. Nope. Blondman, don't say that live can be done within one axis. Yeah, absolutely. I know, absolutely. You don't know. I was looking today. We have the new RAM that automated train here, and 3 young guys last night, stupid. They wanted to cross the tracks and got hit by the train. And 1 died and 2 are in critical condition today. It's like, you never know what could happen, and that's not counting, disease and everything. Look at my sister. My sister died at 55. I mean, I'm 56, and my sister died at 55 in 2011. You never know what could happen. Absolutely. Jasmine, yeah, mostly younger people here are putting up mesh repeaters and building antennas and stuff. Bloudman says, I'm jealous you live in all that revolution and digitization. Yeah, but there's still revolution and all sorts of changes, when you look around. But there's so much stuff that I have fond memories of all the new technologies coming out, and my first connection with a modem to another computer somewhere, up to the internet, my first ever connection to the internet. Oh, man. All right, Blogger Die, do that. I will do videos. The ones that you do a list, and that if it do a list, and if you can just put highlights, like what you like, the best, the good about it, and maybe a little bit of what you don't like about it, if there are some. And every video I'll make of those, I will say these are Blogger Die's choice for Christmas, and it will always link to your Blogger Die blog to make sure that you get as much people going to see your blog. If that's all right with you, I'd love to do that. I like your insight on the radios, and you obviously have a different view of the radios than I do, and it's like we complete each other, Even if I have some that I posted that I gave some stuff, and you got a comment or something, let me know. It'd be kind of interesting. Thanks. And you don't have to do it, by the way. It's but it might be kind of cool. Shortwave Archive, born in 09, and I don't think I could have asked for a better hobby to be a part of. That's cool. That's cool. Dustin Love, I think 12 kilohertz is only about 4 times the allowable bandwidth of the ham bands. Yeah, you got to be much smaller than that. The only bandwidth that could be as big as that on ham bands is when you're in FM mode. John Becken loves cool spring water. Cool. Mike WX50. Sorry. Nice to have you on board from Northwest Arkansas. Bloodman, what am I using on that AirSpy SDR? I'm using the GA490 that I posted the link earlier. The Shibo GA490, which is a loop that kind of looks like the MLA30, but it's a wider frequency range that it is capable of doing. Yeah. David P. Miller, right about cold water detergent, but you also need clean water to do the job. First, get a filter on the input of your laundry machine. Yeah, here in Montreal, it's not too bad. Although, my water is pretty hard, because I noticed there's a lot of, like on my coffee machine, there's a lot of deposits over time. It's pretty crazy. Jim's radio check. Tell Karen she needs to know how to take a joke. Oh, God. Hey, Dr. Arshid Joshi, welcome, and nice to have you on board from New Delhi, India. Just earlier, we were listening to Radio Akashvani coming in very well into the East Coast here of North America. So, it's pretty cool. Thank you for being here. It's always nice to have you on board, my friend. Simon Templar, you can buy the CLAN 10 box for remote ops on your FTDX10, have your notebook with you elsewhere, and run your Yeezy remote through the internet on your notebook, like I do all the times. Yeah, I guess that could be an option. That could be an option, no, for sure. For sure. Mike WX50, I love when people say we live in uncertain times, like we've never lived in certain times. You know what? It's an interesting comment because as time goes by, things happen, things change, governments change, world order changes. And I think it's human nature to always be uncomfortable and Not necessarily, kind of be a little wary and say, well, we're living in uncertain times, which I think it's always uncertain times. I mean, today the uncertainty is of a different level, and it is in a way it is. But if I go back when I was 15 years old and there was this Cold War and the nuclear missiles might be falling on my head at any time, that was uncertain times. This was just a different type of uncertain time. And as we go by and things happen, and 9/11 happened, and we're always living into a change. But I think as human beings, we're always in somewhat of uncertain times, but there's a stability with it, So, Blonde Man, oh no, it was on a USB 3 port, and it was, even if I would have been on USB 2, the speed that I was getting was not even a problem for a USB 1. It was horrible. It was very, very, very bad in the connection. I was getting down speeds of like 30, 40 megabits per second. And this is the one I was using before from TP-Link, which is a Wi-Fi 6AX. And this was going to a download of 400, 500 megabits per second. And even the little PC that you see here, this is a mini PC. This one has a Wi-Fi 6AX also. This one is capable of going to 700 megabits per second download on my connection. And that one that I purchased was barely able to go to 50 megabits. So there's definitely something didn't work. And I tried it on different PCs because I wanted to see if it's dependent on the computer was plugged on. I tried it on 3 PCs. On all 3, it didn't go faster than 30 or 40 megabits per second. So it's like, no, okay, this is crappy. And it was on 5 gigahertz. There was no reason for it to not work well. Like I said, the only thing that I would see is that maybe my router doesn't like it. My modem router, some chipset issue, and they just didn't like each other. Cardwood, nice to have you here. Bert, WF7I Homebrew, nice to have you on board from Virginia. Yep, CQ Worldwide next week in the CW portion. John Beckham, Steve Winwood was a genius. I remember seeing Steve Winwood live in Toronto when I went to see Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers at the Air Canada Centre in Toronto in 2008. The Wind. Nice to have you here. Got an SI 4732 from Guzizu. Still learning about it. Take the time. Take the time. Jim Gordon, an interesting vintage radio-related movie cropped up on YouTube. Hastings Mystery Theater. Mystery Broadcast 1943. Wow. Dusseldorf, 900 megahertz sounds like an old cell phone band. I thought mesh was just 2.4. Well, 900 is for a lot of stuff. There's a lot of different things in the 900 megahertz. Let's get a Logic ending on 6955 in Southern Ontario. But it seems to be gone now, guys. All right, I'll check that out. Summon Templar for the FT DX10. Oh, Mike B has sent tonight's ale. Whoa, 10%. That's a rough one. The Reverend. Look at that. This is our friend's beer for tonight. 10%. So definitely we'll have to go see a Reverend after that 10%. And so here's what our friend Simon Templar has sent with the connectivity for the Yaesu, for having it remotely connected. So this is kind of cool. Checking that out. What else do we have? John Beckham, your explanation of what caused Quito, Ecuador to leave the airways was very interesting. Yeah, and it comes from one of the HCJB guys of the day that had a long interview on multiple part, 2 or 3 part interview on Wavescan, and definitely was kind of interesting. So sad. You know, a change, or if there had been like really more, proactive and things would happen faster. They might have been able to say, okay, you don't have to dismantle the antennas, and maybe we would have had 10, 15, 20 years. Who knows? They could maybe still on today with HCJB programming. ZY3WR, in what area Radio Thailand broadcast at when it used to be on? Well, it was broadcasting to North America. It was broadcasting to the world. It had different broadcasts to Europe, Africa, and Asia, and North America. And it was in certain times of the year, like this period of the year, it was a pretty easy target. And it was a lot of fun to hear Radio Thailand, but they were using the antenna facilities of the USAGM. So when the United States government shut down the Voice of America broadcasts, they turned off the transmitter sites. And so what happened is Radio Thailand was shut down. They still have, if you go online on their streaming, the English broadcast is still there. You'll hear it on their streaming site. But the thing is, they don't have a shortwave presence because they need to have the antennas that were used for Voice of America turned on, the transmitter turned on for them to use that again. So Radio Pilipinas just got the okay to broadcast again. Radio Thailand, it'd be fun if they get the okay too. Jim Gordon, A2 really missed Radio Thailand to Europe, and a real favorite of mine. Yeah, Anna is amazing. Anonka. V83JPX, why can't you have your Yaesu rig in your room? Well, it's mostly if I do voice stuff. If I do FT8 and stuff like that, it doesn't matter. I can do it here. It's quiet. But I've got a Karen there that on the other side of this wall that, and this wall, I have to admit, with right now, like the way I'm talking, you hear me on the other side, that's for sure. And so what happens is that she's not happy if I talk too late, things like that. So I put my Yaesu in the kitchen, because in the kitchen, it's that room where I could do voice contacts anytime, even in the middle of the night, and I won't bother anyone. I put it there for the CQ Worldwide SSB contest, because I knew I would be doing contacts in the middle of the night. But I left it there, so I'm not sure exactly what to do now. Do I bring it back here? What do I do? Plus, she works at in a hospital. She comes back home from her shift at 1 a.m. and I'm pretty sure that she must be sleeping until noon every day. So it's if I start doing ham radio operations at 10 a.m. or 9 a.m. here, She might not be happy, so it's a very complicated situation. Brian Penny, nice to have you on board from Cape Cod. Brian Leisner, that's a great deal for 9,700. Doesn't know if you can hear 6955 in a Memphis Kiwi, but not in Georgia one. Black or Die, my R9700DX had poor dial calibration. It's been a while since I used it, but I don't think it was as good as the PL660. So yeah, maybe if she sends me one for free, why not? Jasmine loved listening to Radio Thailand. I went to Thailand when I was 18, loved it. Radio Thailand reminded me of that trip. It'd be fun if they come back. David P. Miller, yeah, we'll check that out and see. No problem, Brownman. Jeff N2ZNN, New Jersey, spoke to Mexico on my HT on 2 meters. 20 minutes later, heard a station from the UK. Wow. Okay, pretty cool. Landman says, I think the peak revolution is over. You know, it's first television, first commercial internet. Yeah, I don't know. John Becken is it appears a crusade for saving AM radio is working. Yep. Archie Josie says, I got the 9700DX Chinese version in 2024. It's AM and shortwave bands giving me a hard time to tune both strong and weak signals alike. FM works fine though. Jasmine, I remember you talking about BBSs. There's a BBS being developed by a dev on our mesh, and I've been testing it out for. Okay, that's kind of interesting. Be interesting to see that. BBSs. New way to connect to BBSs. Landman, also the cars from that age were also much more durable and each had their own personality. Yeah, I don't know. Brad Shaver, yeah, my guess was 34. You're not 56. Oh, God. Like I have the Chinese label 9700 since it's an analog radio. There is no frequency steps. So it will work anywhere. It's a double conversion superhet. So, you know. Jasmine says the dev is about your age too. Huh, interesting. That's why he's going into BBSs. ZY3WR, different question. Can a snow, cloud, wind, or any winter elements affect shortwave signals? At the shortwave signal level, at the frequency, and before we continue, it's time to check for the M12 Morse code Russian number station. So CW, and the frequency is 7893. 7893. So I'm going to go here, 7893, and see if we can hear any Morse code coming out of Russia. I'll try it here too. Put it in CW. And this should be in a minute's time from now. So I'm just going to put the frequency here. 7893 CW or 7892 upper sideband if you don't have CW mode on your radio. And we'll see if we hear the Morse code Russian number stations. So, like I was saying, at the wavelength of shortwave, weather has no effect. So, whether it's snowing, raining, or anything, there aren't any differences. Now, that doesn't mean that weather doesn't affect some frequency ranges. The higher you go in frequency, the more it is affected by weather. But with the very, very big, long, wavelengths at shortwave level, there is no effect depending on the weather outside. Jasmine, I was able to hear the DRM broadcast of Radio Akashvani for the first time the other day. Oh, cool. Cool. Yeah, that also is something that can help Mike WX50 when there's a lot of effects on the signal when it is very it varies very fast. Trying single sideband, upper or lower sideband might actually help. So I'm not hearing 7893. Let's go and try on the U20 SDR. See if I hear anything. 7893. Yeah, in Europe on the U20 SDR, it is coming in. It is coming in. But it is not coming in here in any of my radios right now. So it does seem like propagation is maybe not as good as it is, because we did hear it from time to time. So the next one is in 20 minutes. In 20 minutes, we'll get go to preamp. So in 20 minutes, it'll be on 8132. We'll try that one. Man, do you know when your TF 6686 does arrive? I am really curious about a radio. I have only heard good about it, no complaints. It's a very wide time frame. It says from December 5th to December 20th on my Amazon account. So that means anywhere from December 5th to December 20th. It's coming from China, I know that. So somewhere around there. RJ Dakota, are we ever truly in control? Well, that is the question. James Farley, nice to have you here. Scored the H501 on Amazon for $260. Cool. Gonna have fun. Dr. Arshid Joshi, thank you, Joel. And likewise, always a pleasure to tune your live stream, sir. I'm very honored that you tuned to Akashvani. That's pretty cool, and it's always nice to have you here. Old radios, I was born at the very end of that Cold War stuff. Oh, the Cold War shortwave was really, really good. Shortwave had so much stuff. Brian Leesner looking up my orders. I paid $65 for the 9700. It's a pleasure to tune around. The big problem here is that in Canada, that $51 will turn into, with the Canadian money, to something like $75, plus the taxes I'll have to pay when it gets here. So it gets the radio to about $100 here. Robert Varner, only certain things in life are death, taxes, and the second law of thermodynamics. Oh God, yeah. Oh man, fallout shelters. Yeah, that was something. I like to go and see the old documentaries. You know, it's like, you know, duck and cover. It's like, yeah, you're gonna survive a nuclear war for sure. It's just crazy. It's just so crazy. Things they make us believe. Let's get down here. So as we continue, just want to say that if you like what I am doing, there's always the super chat where you can give a little something. And of course, there is the pizza fund and cat treats through PayPal. So you can always send a little something here. You can tell me what the money goes for, or just say boat or whatever, or any amount helps, and it's much appreciated, guys, that you guys send me a little something. So please think about it. You have no idea how it is helpful. What else do we have? Mike WX50 saw Steve Wilman with Bruce Hornsby in a range opening for him during his Back in the High Life tour. Kevin, nice to have you here. WS2H, trying out a new low and slow recipe for spare ribs about half an hour ago. Seeing a lot of Canadian flags on the hotels now. Tourism slowly picking up here. Cool. I do spare ribs in my slow cooker and cook them for like 6 hours. They become so tender and juicy. Oh man. Brian Leesner, we did what was called retention drills in elementary school. Basically an orderly trip to the fallout shelter so that we could all be vaporized as a group. That was good. Being vaporized as a school group. So kids, the bomb's arriving. Let's go outside in the schoolyard and wait to be vaporized. Toastal note, the other day I found a Kiwi that had nothing but old radio shows on about a dozen frequencies in the medium wave band. Yeah, probably some kind of syndicated show that's on many frequencies. Because there are some old stuff. From time to time I like it when I hear it on my old Westinghouse here from 1949. It kind of brings me back to, you know. Jerry Rafferty passed away. Jeffrey Rafferty. Oh no, it passed away a long time ago. Yeah, okay. I thought, yeah. It's a long time. I thought it was. There's so many of them that you don't know they're alive or not anymore. It's crazy. There are some that are so surprising that you're like, oh wow, they're still alive. There was one guy that came to the Bell Center a couple of months ago, and I'm like, he was like one of those that my mom loved, and I was like, wow, he's still alive. I thought he was dead. VT Radio, Paul, nice to have you here. AA1SU from Northern Vermont. Had a lot of chores to do today. Last week was sweepstakes. Yeah, sweepstakes last week. Next week, see the CQ Worldwide DX in CW mode. So, pretty cool. Pretty cool. Mute Zone, nice to have you here. Good evening from Rad Radio DXer, M7EIW. Seems YouTube's not showing our proper handle. Yeah, they're showing out the weird stuff again. RJ Dakota says, remember the fallout shelter drills and always remember in the various places where I have worked being instructed on what to do in case of intense storms or tornadoes. Oh man. Ryan Lisa, don't forget the 50s, 60s radios with the civil defense markings. I don't remember the exact years they manufactured them with the marks. Yep. Yep. One of the best plays, ZY3WR. I think the best place for the latest news on what's happening with radio stations most of the time, it's a group that is by Glenn Hauser. It's an IO group that you subscribe to, and it's WOR for World of Radio. IO group. Let me just put it here. Here we go. This is the home. So this is World of Radio. This is a very, very active group. Anything that happens in radio, on shortwave, medium wave, and so on is happening here. And what you do is you sign up for his group and make sure that you receive his emails, because everybody posting, it will come up in an email for you. I follow that all the time because it lets me know of things happening and everything that, like this week, the harp stuff, all the people logging in and posting messages saying that they're hearing him, what frequency, and so on. So I'll post the link to this group. Glenn Hauser's World of Radio IO group is definitely a place to be if you want to know what's happening in radio. And so a lot of what, stations coming back or anything, there will always be somebody that knows about it that will be just posting about it. Go to this and listen to Glenn Hauser's World of Radio show. And for those that don't, World of Radio, those that don't know about Glenn Hauser World of Radio, it's a great 30 minutes. It's jam-packed of information. I often listen to it 4 or 5 times to make sure I grasp all the info of the World of Radio show. But he has a show that he posts every week on Thursday. You can either listen to it online or he's on many, many radio stations. Just that, you're going to know a lot of what's happening. I'd say 95+% of whatever's happening or reactivations of stations and stuff, you're going to actually know about it there. So this is definitely one of the major shortwave places to know what's happening in the world of radio, if stations are reactivating and so on. Almost every time I know about something like that, it always came through the World of Radio IO group with somebody posting information about it. So, man. Hey, David in Barcelona. ¿Cómo está mi amigo? EA3IEK. Watching again from Barcelona. QTH in Spain. Kevin, maybe your landlord could put soundproof tiles on your... If you know about my landlord, you would say, no, he's never going to do that. I did look at soundproof tiles through several places and how much it would cost me to have all of the wall here with that. If something like that would happen, I would probably be the one doing it and pay it with my own money. It's because here it's like the landlord is El Cheapo landlord. Shortwave Archive, great to hear Radio Pilipinas is coming back. I remember receiving their English program on March 17th. Got to EQ Rizal. Yeah, and it's Radio Pilipinas is so typical, unique shortwave. It feels like listening to some broadcast on shortwave from the 80s. It is. I just love the style and the way it is. It's just great. Brian Leesner, I visited my elementary school. I still live in the same neighborhood I grew up in. It's really sad to see metal detectors and basically locked down buildings. Yeah, things are really changing, I can tell you that. It's very different today in so many areas. Here they had to put a law. Actually, it's not a law, but they had to put rules. When I was young and I'd go to elementary school, when there was no school, anyone could go into the schoolyard and do something or play. And then they put up fences around the schoolyard because, I don't know, I guess they were scared that kids would be kidnapped or something or run away. And some schools decided that, oh, the schoolyard when the school's over is unaccept. You know, you can't access it. People cannot come here and do anything, and they lock them. So a lot of districts here in Montreal have said, whoa, 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 no. These are public spaces. When there is no school, the schoolyard, we need to have access to it if people want to go there to, because there's games and stuff. So if people want to play, they can go there. I actually would go there a lot. You know, I'm a big radio control buff. I like radio control toys, you know, cars, Jeeps, and all sorts of things. And I mean, look, I got, just to give you an idea. Yeah, we're done. You know, I got stuff. You know, I got these really, really high performance thing that are just amazing. But where do I go? Well, I go into a schoolyard because it's all, you know, nice big asphalt or cement. So it's like, you know, it's perfect for this, especially at the speeds these go. And so I remember once going to my favorite spot because it had a really, really big yard. And one day, and it's like there's a lock, and I'm like, what? I could go there all I wanted before. And the school decided, no, nobody comes here when the school's over. And I like it because the district here said, whoa, no, that yard has to be accessible to anyone that wants to go there if they need to. It's a public space. You know, taxpayers are paying for this. So taxpayers are allowed to go there after school, not during school, which is okay. But after school, this has to be available to anyone. So now they removed the lock, which I love because, you know, it's also fun because there's fences. It puts my stuff in my little bubble. I like that. You know. Fred Water, nice to have you on board. Jasmine, yep, she grew up with BBSs and told me all about them like you did. Oh, man, that was a great time. Great time. Yeah, back in the USSR, the Beatles' White Album. Paul McCartney was in Montreal this week. 2 shows. People just went nuts. I wanted to go see them, but I thought, you know, for a decent spot, it was like $500. I thought, that's too expensive. But I got to say, people were like really, but I'm happy someone filmed it, put it on YouTube. So I was like, there's a full concert, which is pretty cool. So, Jasmine, speaking of China, I'm going there next spring. Wow. That's going to be a hell of an experience, Jasmine. Bring a radio and listen. Or buy a Texan. It must be sold in stores there somewhere. Give us your account of what a store looks like, electronic stores, and do they have radios and everything. I'd be curious. You could be a reporter from China. Glenn Danzler, nice to have you here. Coastal low, some microwave frequencies are almost completely blocked by the atmosphere. Yep, because it goes with the wavelength. If your wavelength is smaller, for example, than a raindrop, well, a raindrop will block that signal. The great example of that is your microwave oven. If you look at the food in your microwave oven, you notice that there's a metal grill in that window to prevent you from getting microwaves. That grill, the little holes, are actually smaller than the wavelength. So that's why the signals can't come through. The holes are not big enough for the signal, the wavelength of that signal, to go through that window. So it stays stuck in with the metal shield. And there, I'm hearing it. It's not very strong, but I'm hearing 81.32. It's very weak though. But I'm hearing 81.32 right now on Morse code. So if you guys want to try that, 81.32. The next one will be, there's an M23 at 51.82 we'll try, but you didn't hear it last time. So 81.32 right now. Well, on the VHF UHF range, weather could have a different aspect. There are things like inversion, temperature inversions, and weather does have weird effects on the VHF UHF range, Brian Leisner. So that could be one of the reasons. So, Jim Gordon, in my part of Scotland, we had a major Royal Air Force base that used to stop Russian Tu-95 Bear bombers from intruding into the UK airspace. Wow. So 81.32 still coming in. Not very strong, but it's there. Madrid the Extra Museum says aerostatic crashes. Yeah, that is one. If there is one effect of weather, is the static crashes. You could be hearing a static crash on the shortwave frequency from 1,000, 2,000 miles away. Absolutely. Oh yeah, the exchange rate is crazy. It's crazy. When I get my yesterday was YouTube payment time, and I was looking at the amount to give you guys an idea. For every $100 US, it transfers here to 138 Canadian. So there's an advantage to that when you get money in US funds, because you get more, but it's really bad when you buy stuff. Oh yeah, Brian Leisner, in what was it, in 2013, 14, 15, that area, Canadian US dollar were at par. That's when I purchased most of my radios, actually, because it was costing me the same amount of money to buy any radio than you guys in the US. So, man, I bought a lot of radios back then. And there was another area back in, it was even worth more at one point. I remember, I think it was in 2012, 13, one Canadian dollar was worth $1 in like five, almost $1.10 US. Our money was worth more than the US dollar. I mean, that was great for buying stuff. Just enough, if you're hearing stations from a particular area, you should also be able to hear any lightning in that area. Yeah, technically, yeah. Fred Water, I was never worried about the Cold War. I figured I was near ground zero anyway. Yeah. Yeah, spare ribs. Jennifer, when was the Canadian Thanksgiving? It was last month. Our Thanksgiving is in October. So we had that a month ago. I know you guys in the US have it this week. That's why I'm already in Christmas mode. And you guys are not there yet because Thanksgiving, and if I'm not mistaken, I think Thanksgiving for you guys is bigger than Christmas, actually. So, you know. John Beckham, nice to have you here. Oh man, Glenn Hauser is in the 70s, if not 80s. It shows in his voice sometimes. So Radicals Quadrant, Glenn is 80 years old. Fred Water, when I pass at the local hospital in St. Catharines, I always chuckle when I pass Hauser's Pharmacy. Man. Oh yeah, that was something. Glenn Hauser's been there for a long, long time. Fred Water, Jill likes radio-controlled toys. Go figure. I always like when there's this woman that passes by or man, but it's mostly women that will say it. Oh, look at that! This old man is doing kid stuff. I was like, yeah. Mind your own business. It's not kid stuff. It's cool stuff. I'm going to go to Addison Electronics tomorrow. I'm getting a drone, by the way. They have one on sale, and I really want it. I want one. I think it's going to be fun. Gilles Never being 22. What's your favorite JFK story conspiracy? I can't say I have one. Well, I'm a passionate of specific times in history when things happen. I don't have any, conspiracy theory or anything of JFK's death or whatever. But if you bring me a documentary about, JFK and the Cuban Missile Crisis and stuff like that, I'll sit down and just watch it. Like, it's the kind of stuff that fascinates me, knowing the intricate details of, what happened in the background of, how did they communicate, how it all, ended up being like this close of all of us being gone and not even being here today, to we kind of fixed it in a way, and that fascinates me. If I would, I actually told a friend once, I said, if I would in some way be in some spy ring of some sort, I'd be thrilled. I'd be like, yeah, let's go for it. This is cool. This is fun. I want to be that. Maybe that's why China Radio International came after me after a while. There's something about it that's just like, oh, this is like the cool stuff of the, of everything happening in the world that people don't know about. And so if you bring me anything from a time like that, if you, like I said, the missile crisis and how, JFK and all the people around him dealt with that. And I've watched so many documentaries on that, and it's like I never get tired of it, and of any type of, I will watch. I watched the whole series on the Cold War, a whole series on World War II, World War One. For me, it's the details of how it started, how we dealt with it, how it ended, and all. It's like there's a part of that I'm actually very fond of. It's part of history that I'm just like, wow. Jim's ready to check. My brother thought Frank Zappa was still alive. So there was in Port Arthur, Texas. Pretty cool. And what else do we have? Loud man says, radio control for life. Everything has to do with frequencies. Yep. It's part of the reason radio control stuff was fun in the first place for me. Not only was it a thing that I controlled it with radio frequencies, which was like, oh, this is cool. I'm on this frequency. And that signal controls that device, that Jeep, that thing, you know. From the early days when radio controlled toys were on CB, in between the CB channels on specific frequencies, like 26, what, one was 26995, one was 27145, was it, or 045? There were like 5 channels on the CB bands, anyways, that I remember where you had radio control stuff in between some CB channels. So, you know. Joseph, public space should be public. It's like people don't know how to share anymore. Yep. Yep. So 8132 is still going on with the Russian spy number station. Craig Martinetti, when did you start shortwave listening? Unofficially, my father came home with a multi-band radio in 1980-ish. I still would like to have a catalog from Consumer Distributing from 1980. I would need one from 1979, 1980, and 1981 to see. I would recognize the radio in there immediately if I had one, and because I'd like to see what I had. I would immediately recognize it in the catalog. That was a multi-band. It had shortwave, but I didn't know what SW meant. And I remember I started listening to the local police on VHF, the VHF hairband for aircraft. Officially, if you would put an official date on shortwave itself, it would be when I got the Realistic DX100 in 1982. Because that radio came with a little manual that explained to me what I was actually listening to. And I finally knew what SW meant, that it was shortwave, and that I could hear stations from all over the world. And I got hooked from the first night I turned on that radio. So it's pretty crazy. Steve Brennan listening on his Texan PL 880. All right, Paul. All right, Paul. Old radio's got taco pizza. Sounds good. Steve Brennan, I'm hearing CW on 8131 upper sideband. Not strong. Mike B, 8132, not making it to Colorado. Ben Hearn, I say have you here from Denton. And NJF 16, I say have you here. Yeah, duck and cover. Close enough, I'm looking forward to some feasting. Craig Martinetti, my bank told me that the exchange rate US to Canadian the other day was the highest she has ever seen. It's not the highest I've seen it. I've seen worse than that in the 80s. In the 80s we went worse than that. But it's definitely, in all of my lifetime, it's definitely one of the highest, but not the highest I've seen. 9263 is the next one. And since I have 9265 interfering, I'll do 9264 lower sideband to avoid WINB on 9265. I'll do the same here. And 2, 6, 4. And we'll try to hear. And when that Morse code comes in, I'll be taking a break for a few minutes to do my caregiving duties. Oh yeah, this is the best route, absolutely. Absolutely. Finally, I found the names of your coins. Forgive me if getting this wrong. Yeah, loonies and toonies for the $1, $2. I don't know if I have some here in my pocket. I don't have a lot of money lately because I usually pay with cards. So do I have anything? No, I got quarters. I don't think I have. Let's see if I have anything else. Oh, maybe here. Maybe here. What do I have? Oh, so I don't have a loonie, but I do have a toonie, which is a $2 coin. So that's the toonie here. And but I don't have a loonie because the other ones I have are quarters. So, yep. You'd be surprised they're free to choose. Canadian Thanksgiving is pretty big, but I think here at the province where it is not very big is here in Quebec. But in other provinces, I think that the Canadian Thanksgiving is actually bigger than you think. I think it has everything to do with the fact that we're in Quebec here. John Beckham, what's the range of a standard drone? It depends on the drone. The one that I'm going to get is 100 meters, which means about 300 feet. There are drones that can literally be thousands of feet in distance that can be controlled. It also has to do because there's two categories. Like here in Canada, the one I'm going to get, I don't need a license. Because it's below 250 grams in weight, which is, what, half a pound? If you go above 250 grams, then you need to actually go to a drone course and get a license to own it because it's required. But these usually are the ones also that go a lot further. James Radio Check says, I think there's something wrong with my outdoor weather station. It says it's 40 below zero. Maybe the batteries. I think you should look at the batteries. I think your batteries are dead and it's like it's just showing whatever. Kevin says there was an RC club in New Jersey that utilized an old runway. I watched very wealthy men destroy F-18 large model jets and helicopters on the regular by accident. Ouch. Aviation RC cool, but costly. I had 2 helicopters and a plane, and I can tell you that those are not forgiving. Helicopters were easier because the ones I had their own balance control. So it's like, okay, but you always run into something at some point. It's like, I don't know why. You're in a field. There's nothing except one little pole somewhere. Why? Tell me why. I have no idea. You are going to hit that pole. And it's like, why is everything attracted to what that one little thing in the middle of a big field where there's 99% space, 1% something in the way? I don't understand that rule. I guess it's Murphy's Law. I don't know. But yeah, it could be very costly, and depending on how costly. I had an uncle which was very good at building boats and stuff, and he had built a beautiful Titanic replica that was a remote controlled boat, and that he sold to my dad, And I remember back in the day, I found that so cool, but my dad wanted to make it better, so he took it apart, but he never put it back. So that was over. So the Morse code is there. It's not very strong, but it's there on 92, 63 lower, 64 lower sideband, or 92, 63 CW. Arctic Circle, nice to have you on board from northern Sweden, and he's getting 8132. Kevin, do you have any vintage audio receivers like Marantz? Do you listen to vinyl or cassette or reel-to-reel? I wish I could have hung into my old vinyl. I pretty much, all the stuff I had from the old days is gone. I still have a bunch of vinyls, but I have a very cheap, like, all-in-one thing to play the vinyls, which is far from being good quality. But pretty much everything from the past is gone. And, you know, you move from place to place. What happens? You take the time to, you just, you know, throw away whatever you can't bring along. Vinyls are particularly very, very heavy. I had several hundred vinyls. I had to choose, what do I do? And especially when I moved here. And when I moved here, what was the new thing? CDs. I'll buy it in CD, or even better, when I got here and Napster appeared, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to download everything I want and burn them on my own CDs. So yeah, no, I don't have a lot of, unfortunately, there's a lot of stuff that today I realize that it would be so cool to have kept them. But no, unfortunately. Sheila, nice to have you here from Belleville, Ontario. Brian Leisner, back in the day they called us programmers, not software engineers. Dusselov, last week it was hard to hear even on LSB, but I could see it pretty good on the waterfall. Old radio's full of pizza. Making me hungry now. Fred Water or Canadian paper money has the denomination in Bry in the upper corner. Yep. I almost never use physical money. I use it because some places still require it because they don't take cards because of the fees. But for the most part, I always pay with my phone. Bill Agadai says, yeah, my weather station shows 40 below when my battery dies. Yeah, I think mine, I should change mine outside because and the display at the bottom, it says battery, low battery. So I need to change the ones outside this week before winter really sets in. D. Scott Nathan, nice to have you here. Loudman says you can train on a simulator, been here before, and you can even use your transmitter and train. Then, yeah. Arctic Circle, 9263, 59 CW. Mr. Dave Pizza, nice to have you here. Jeff, try an RC sub. This way it syncs. At least it can say it was supposed to be. Yeah. You got to be on 9264, might be, not 9262. You got to be on 9264 lower sideband, because now you're not hearing it for sure in 9262 lower sideband. Joseph, so far my Emily 30 plus experiment hasn't worked out that great. Our propagation hasn't been great. I tried moving it to a place not adjacent to old dish receiver and open between buildings. What else do we have? Getting stuck by lightning. Kevin says, speaking of money, I saw on YouTube that if you fold US currency from $5 bill and continue to greater amounts, you slowly see the Twin Towers. Huh. Okay. Interesting. So, hey guys, as the Morse code is going on here on 9263, and let's go and check out, I think on... We have World of Radio on 15770. So we'll leave you with the soothing sounds of World of Radio from Glenn Hauser, and come back in a few minutes.
In the Michigan ARE tip sheet, Rich Ryan sends a link about GPS systems failing in Eastern Europe because of Russian jamming due to the war in Ukraine. It's at mwrf.com. Under technologies, microwaves, RF jamming of GPS satellites becomes a growing problem. Russian jamming is causing concerns for the safety of civil aviation across the Baltic Sea region, even to the extent of grounding flights by Jack Brown. Jamming of GPS navigational signals and communications was once bringing international concern, but is increasingly affecting satellite search. Some nations may be affected by jamming directly. Recently confirmed to the FDA's Electronic Communications Office is that another nation close to its borders in Russia is using 3 sites in Kaliningrad, Leningrad, and Soft Oblast to disrupt satellite navigation systems. Many technology firms, including Lithuanian laser communications developers Astrolight, have expressed the need for jamming-resistant technology to protect communications and navigation reliability from jamming efforts. Recent Ukrainian reports have indicated that ground-based Russian jamming systems can now disrupt GPS signals 1,200 miles above ground, with the capability to block communications and GPS navigational signals from low Earth orbit satellites. Such ground-based jammers represent a major threat to battlefield environments as well as commercial applications, including airline navigation. In hopes of thwarting these jamming attacks, the European Space Agency is investing heavily in a military-grade satellite network. Possibly related, this from RosTX, quoting the Finnish newspaper Helsingin Sanomat on November 7th, reported that 18,000 false alarms about NATO ghost ships had been received by Finland's maritime tracking system in 1 hour. The ship's actual location was thousands of kilometers from the Baltic Sea, where the system had placed them. TASS prepared a report on the ship's tracking system failures, which have become more frequent in recent years. Alan Holder on the Isle of Wight says, when listening for Radio Slovakia international relays via Karl Krekel, Germany on November 16th and 17th, at 1830 UT, there was no signal on 3985, and nothing heard checking November 18th at 1500 on 6005. I presume these 2 frequencies have already closed down for good prior to the expected end date of December 31st. Could this be due to a cut in funding from Slovakia, since STVR must pay for the rental of airtime? Radio Mi Amigo continues via call on 6085. Juan Franco Crespo forwards a story from Radio TV Slovakia's website in Spanish. I don't find it in English. That the organization plans to get rid of about 5% of its employees. That's down from 1,700. That's a downsizing of the entire organization, not the international service in particular. Via Jorge Garfon in the British News Club, a press release from RNE in Spain says they will be closing down their medium wave stations by the end of the year, December 31st at the latest. Some of them may already be closing before that date. They've already been reducing power. However, there is a campaign to save medium wave RNE. Change.org petition with title Salvemos la Onda Media de RNE. Where does that go? In North America, but that was not the case on November 19th. In fact, it was not even getting into Kuwait. We mentioned earlier that KNLS Alaska had moved to a new frequency to avoid interfering with Voice of the Report of the Week via Taiwan, which is on 9705 as originally planned, says John Jurasek. That's 09 to 10 UT Thursdays. UAE, Wolfgang Duschel notes that the Russian service, the WRN, broadcast on shortwave, has been testing a different frequency the week of November 18th. 9820, actually 8 hertz low, instead of 5990. It includes the DX program Radio Panorama at 1733 on Saturdays. They're asking for reports and will decide after the week is up whether to return to 5990 or stay on 9820. Another relay via UAE is further off frequency, 9580.109. The relay of Ibra Radio in Pashto for Afghanistan at 15 to 1545 UT. It had been 110 hertz above 9720, says Wolfgang Buchel. Mike Cooper forwards a story from the Irish Times headline, "The BBC has played into the hands of a lying authoritarian," from Wednesday, November 12th, opinion by Kathy Short.
And we are back. Okay. Now, anything in the pirate bands? So there's a pirate on 6925 upper sideband, and I'm pretty sure if you guys put your SDR around 6880, you might see something in the waterfall. There's weird sounds coming out of there. And something very weird there, yeah, definitely. Well, doesn't look like anything special. It just looks like some kind of radar signal. But 6925 upper sideband. Pirate. Tosinov says, I was kind of surprised I could still hear that broadcast even in a lower sideband below it. Richard Califano, nice to have you on board. From Albany, New York, WA2157SWL. What is a good cheap radio for Christmas to myself? Wow, I don't know. What do you have right now? There's a lot of stuff that is kind of interesting, and depending on if you want to have some cheap little radio or something, you know. What else do we have? Junior Gordon. The new timeline is coming in November 29th, 2025. Well, what does that mean? Producer, I didn't know Hauser was this familiar with Spanish. Hauser had a Spanish language show. I don't think he has it anymore, but he used to have a World of Radio equivalent entirely in Spanish in the 90s. And even, I don't know when he stopped doing it, but he used to have a Spanish language show too. Hey Kenneth, nice to have you on board. K1161, nice to have you here. WA0RCR, the broadcast can also be found on the tuning app. Can you hear the station on local AM on 1860? Yeah, WA0RCR. I miss when I could hear it like clearly from where I lived before, because the noise floor was so low that I actually could hear on 1860 kilohertz back in the day. It's pretty cool. But now all I hear is a faint carrier, because it's just not, there's too much noise. You know, signal's still there, but you just get a carrier. So it's kind of sad. You know, the day Glenn Hauser dies, there's going to be a big void in radio news. I'm going to tell you that. A big void. So what else do we have at this time? Let's check. 5960 is Turkey. Turkey's coming in decently on 5960. If I go on 5960 here, that's where I see the end-fed antenna is not great compared to the loop. The loop is getting Voice of Turkey really well here on the ICOM, but on my end-fed 5960 is just noisy. So low frequencies are no good on the end-fed. This is where having both is kind of nice, because it gets you.
Today is the 22nd of November 2025. This information
So Voice of Turkey. Voice of Turkey coming in pretty well on 5960 kilohertz for the English broadcast in North America. Oh, you never know, Jasmine. All of these hackers out there. When I look at those conferences where they have like 2-3 days to hack all sorts of stuff, and you see how easy they're hacking through all sorts of systems and cars. All I can see with a self-driving trucks and cars on the road is some kind of big disaster that's going to happen at some point, because some hacker is just going to do something. It's like, yeah. Especially when I see that these companies don't take security seriously, because a lot of them don't. Blogger 6925 booming on the PL330 with WOW antenna, and it's perfectly tuned exactly on frequency. Cool. That's the fun thing about the PL330. When you are, when you have that calibration done perfectly, it is amazing. Last little promotion. If you like what I do, don't forget, you can give a little something to the super chat, and it's much appreciated. I'm here all the time. If you guys like what I do, if you guys are here all the time, how about it? A little something to say thank you. Thank you for being here. It's really much appreciated. It helps tremendously. You have no idea. And of course, there's the pizza fund, so I don't, just get too skinny and die of hunger. Pizza fund, and Paul the Cat, same thing. Cat treats through PayPal. Thank you so much for donations. You have no idea how this is important and helps out to keep this going on week after week, guys. So, what else do we have? What else do we have? Joseph, I'm good with all this tech if it's democratic. I just want to try to avoid dystopia. Take care, Art. Always nice to have you here. Stay safe. Kenneth says shopping trips got out of hand, so broke until next month. No worries. It's alright, Kenneth. Close enough, I can see 6925 on the eastern Atlantic Kiwi, but not on the western one. Jim's radio check says you're broke till next month. I'm broke forever. Like I died a few years back, there was an open source self-driving car project, but I haven't heard of it recently. Yeah. Cheers, everybody. Loudman says Turkey strong and clear here. They're transmitting with 500 kilowatts. Yeah, I'm suspecting they might not be at 500, but a lot of stations advertise 500, but will lower to save cost. And still, if you're with 200 or 300 kilowatts, I mean, they're pretty good also. J Dakota has 11780 Amazonas coming in well this evening. Blackguard Eye 5960, extremely good signal. Mike B 5960 not making it to Colorado. Old radios in the 2000s, they were okay. Thank you, Joseph, for the donation. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. Slow. They don't shield laptops very good for RF, and they emit a lot of broadband noise sometimes. Yeah, it depends on the brand. That's why I always purchase, for a long, long time, I purchased Toshiba branded. Now they don't make laptops anymore, because the Toshibas were always very good at that. They were always very, very are always very, very quiet. But not all models are quiet. Jasmine, I have friends who are hackers who regularly attend DEF CON. They took a self-driving car in Austin. I like that. Blogger, a fleet-wide hack is the nightmare scenario for autonomous vehicles. I believe they take it seriously. Tesla, for example, implements code signing on their hardware. Yeah, but there's been so many examples, like with GM and all of those companies, that the hackers clearly showed, look, you're not, Tesla might be one of those that takes it seriously. And we don't hear a lot about Tesla hacking or being done at these conferences. But there were a few times when I've seen reports of like GM and so on that, no, look, come on, you guys got to be better than that with security. It's life and death situation with cars. This is very important. Thank you, Mike WX50, much appreciated. Joseph, my MacBook laptop is awful for RF. I can't shortwave within 10 feet of it. When I look at the RF footprint, my RF footprint of a laptop, for me, if I can't put a radio next to it, that's not for me the problem. What I've seen in laptops and computers is you can't listen to anything even if you're 30 feet away from it or in the next room. And there are some of those with the switching power supplies that just make it awful. So that is much more of a problem because, you can't make computers zero noise when you're really close to it. All the circuits have oscillators. When you see that your CPU has a clock speed of 2.6 gigahertz, what do you think that means? That is that means that there's radio frequency being broadcast on that range, and there are dozens, if not hundreds, of oscillators on computers. I'm back in 20 seconds. Okay, I'm back. So, Voice of Turkey, 5960. So, being close to a device like a computer, it's kind of normal that there's noise when you're really close to it because of all the oscillators in there. That's for sure. What else do we have? Kenneth says, I was on the Interstate 10 yesterday and could swear several vehicles were already self-driving and they are old models. Oh yeah, the 6.7, which is cryptic. Nobody understands why 6.7. Yeah. Like everybody's like, what's that? Why? What are you saying? Yeah. Okay. What else do we have here? So, Junior Garden, how about you get out of here? Bye-bye. Joseph 11780 coming in well in San Francisco, California. Langadai, the open source AI/open pilot self-driving project still active. I mean, it's unavoidable. There will be. I mean, I could definitely see that one of the major things for self-driving trucks is, hey, if you put a self-driving truck that will go around North America with its, it's with all this stuff, you don't need a driver anymore. You don't need some guy that needs sleep. That driving truck can just go on 24 hours a day, never tires. So, I can see self-driving trucks with merchandise going all around someday. I'm sure it will happen. Yeah, but the thing is, Tosanov, is that extra dollars. Say they add $5 of shielding. Tosanov, $5 of shielding over a million sold is $5 million that they won't have in their pocket. So, and if they put that computer $5 more, it'd be surprised at how we can change everything. And I won't sell as many as I should. It's really a question of saving as much money as possible today. John Beckham, 17,800. You mean 11,780 maybe? Jim's ready to check. If I got hit by a self-driving car, who pays my bills? I guess I'll have to be the company behind it. There's even worse than that when you're talking about unshielded computer chips, Tosanlov. They're trying to save so much money that even the satellites they put in orbit today, a lot of the chips are not hardened. Their chips do not have any radiation protection. They're just using standard Intel CPUs. They used to have hardened chips, which would be specifically done to prevent radiation from interfering. That's less and less of an option in satellites today to save cost. What does that mean when that day will happen, when that huge solar storm is going to hit? What's on 17,800? Let me go there. I want to go see. 17,800. Oh, I do hear something. Very weak here. Very weak here. But there's something there. Absolutely. So on 17,800 at this time should be at 23. China National Radio 8, which is in Mongolian right now from China. So that's China National Radio 8, if you guys hear that. I do hear a very weak signal in the noise up here. Even if it's less than $1, Tosanlov, you want to have that million in your pocket or that 500K in your pocket. Especially, you know that computers, they don't make a lot of money on them. When they sell you a computer, that computer, they might be making 20 or 30 bucks on it. Nothing more. Because the market is so stressed, they just can't sell them and make a lot of money on them. So when you make 20 or 30 bucks on one computer, you can't put $1 of something more on it, because you are losing too much money. And it is a fact that even the stores, when they sell you a computer, they make almost no money off of it. That's why they haggle you, they harass you with, oh, you want to have antivirus? We can set it up for you. It's going to cost this. And that's why they do that. They don't make money off of it. So it's like, we're going to try to make money in another way. And they harass you with all of the shit that they're trying to sell you. What else do we have here? Mr. Dave Pizza had an antenna running through my car window, and the whole thing got covered in mold because it rained so hard. Wow. Jasmine, I waited all day for this UPS delivery, and all they did was leave a notice in the lobby of my building. I hate UPS. Yeah. Sometimes Canada Post does that here. They put a... oh, you weren't here. I was here all day. I'm sorry. Yeah. Redwater. Yeah, that's going to be one. There's going to be this truck driver. There's going to be a song about this truck driver where his self-driving car left him. Or his self-driving car said he couldn't handle anymore and he had to leave. That's going to be a good one. That's one big reason why a lot of stuff are not shielded good. And, add to the mix the bad, switching power supplies. And you got problems. Kenneth, that explains why 1700 did not sound familiar. Brian Lee said, yes, it totally sucks when they cut corners and leave out a few cents worth of shielding, for example. It adds to their margin and can make a product go from acceptable to unusable. We are the ones that notice this. People don't notice this. This is the thing. This is the problem. The problem is that for the average person out there that's getting, a computer, it works, it does what they want. But if you're the neighbor that has ham radio gear, shortwave, you're the one that, is all messed up with all that extra noise. I just look at the house next door, and when they totally redone the house, I just have so much more noise now. It's like, what's in there doing all of that noise? What did they install? Lighting fixtures? Is there some other device? Is it, what is it? The heat exchange thing at the outside? What is it? And this is where, unfortunately, we hang very, very low in the importance of this, technology scale. It's like, oh, well, you're just complaining that you have noise. Unfortunately, today, how much stuff comes from China or, is created that doesn't even follow FCC rules in the United States on how much noise a device can give out. Nobody's checking anything anymore. We get something from China that, we don't pay anything, almost nothing for those things. So we have to expect that if you're paying such a low price, they cut corners somewhere. And that means if they cut corners, well, we're going to be the victims of that. So we get all of these devices from, the other side of the world that I'm sure do not abide by any of the FCC noise rules. But nobody's going to check that out. Nobody opens the box and says, let's plug it in. Let's see how much noise it makes. It's like, no, they just get in. There's no, we can't open everything and try it. It has to be, either blocked, and it's like, okay, unless you have approval of FCC approval of some sort, it just is the way it is today, basically. Mr. Dave Pizza, have you tried the HFDY Active Loop? I bought one and it seems pretty great. No, I've never tried one of those. Skidology, surprising that I'm actually getting 11780 today. Conditions are good tonight. And, it's crazy. Donna Royal, yeah. Well, there might be some quality control, but what are you looking in the quality control? The device works, so it's fine. Yeah. There's a lot of that too, Tosanov. When you look at the rules already from way, way back, what does the rule say? If you have a CB radio, if you create interference, you have to stop using it. Well, why doesn't it apply to my neighbor got this cheap Chinese device that's creating so much noise that I can't hear on ham radio? Try to call in and say, hey, I've got too much noise because of a Chinese device that the neighbor has. Nobody's going to do nothing for that. No one. Jason Sitar says, just plugging my phone to charge it within 4 feet of my AM radio fix the signal. Absolutely. Brian Leesner, although those approved by FCC and QA stickers they put on some devices, I bet Texan is not guilty. But those QA stickers from other manufacturers are just thrown in the box. Well, I think every company has its own rules and its own way of doing things. I do think there's a lot of Chinese stuff that's made with very high quality standards. We got to stop thinking that because it's from China, it's not well made. There's some very high quality stuff coming out of China. But it also goes with the price we are ready to pay for stuff. What would happen if tomorrow Texan would tell you, we've ramped up our quality control to a high standard, and then you go to an Onco and you see that a Texan PL330 now costs $375. Are you going to buy that? You won't. That's the thing. There's a price to pay for everything, and the fact that, we're in a world now where we used to we used to have radios in the 80s that were crappy for an enormous amount of money. You would get a $300 portable, and it was actually barely, compared to today's Texan, as a crappy radio, and it costs a lot more than the Texan today. So there's so much out there that, like, we have decided that we don't want to pay for our stuff. Our hobby has come down to a price point where it's crazy, but at the same time, we have to understand that there's a price to pay for that too. Me Bopper, there was a time when UL, Underwriters Laboratories, was important. There is one thing I got to say about that, though. We got to be careful. I worked in a place where we were making lighting fixtures. They would send a new lighting fixture for tests for UL and for, what was the other one? It was UL and I'm trying to remember the other one. I don't remember. But the problem is that there's a relaxed rule in the UL standard. Is that once they test it, if you make modifications, you don't have to send the modifications for a retest. And we ended up, I would see that, which it changed what I thought about these regulations and these stickers. It made me understand that doesn't mean anything. Because it made me understand that, okay, you send that specific fixture, but even if you make modifications on it, you don't have to send them anymore, and that modification might change a whole lot on that thing. And that's where I understood, well, okay, it doesn't mean that much after all. Donald 1274 says smart power meters can be noisy. I was quite fortunate that my installer was a ham and made sure mine was quite. I got two power supply. One is here. This little one here is a 30 amp switching power supply by Tech Power. This is Chinese made. They are switching power supplies. I got a 50 amp one for my Yaesu FTDX10, which is made by kind of the same company, but the 50 amp is more, there's a lot more power out of it. And I mean, what's nice is they have a lot of power for they're not very heavy. I gotta tell you, these are super quiet. I don't hear anything on my Yaesu coming out of my power supply. And I've noticed that if you do hear a little something, they have an noise offset. You just turn the button and noise is somewhere else. It's not interfering. And I get there's a lot of, battles going on with, well, these are cheap because they're, it's not like the $800 American-made whatever power supplies that weigh 10 tons. I'll tell you one thing. I will never buy a 10-ton American-made power supply. One, because it's 10 ton, and I'm not buying a $800 power supply. Ever. That one here is like 100. The one that I have, 50 amps, is about 160. I'll tell you one thing. There's even a couple of hams that are really, really good in electronics that opened the cabinet. Because, one of the things I see all the time with that is, so you're going to put your $2,000 radio on a $150 Chinese power supply? Well, 3 or 4 hams that I've seen open them up and start looking inside all agree that the quality of the power supply is amazing, and there's tons of protections in them that, no, your radio's not going to blow up. The power supply might blow up, the radio's not. And we got to be careful with today where we are and what we buy. There's really good stuff at surprisingly good prices. And we got to be careful who makes what. Most of the time, what we realize is that when people say, oh, Chinese junk equals, well, you didn't want to pay, so you got the really cheap one for $30. But I can tell you that there's some really, really amazing stuff coming out of China too. You got to be careful. It's not, black and white. It's depends the price you want to pay. Skitology has 6180 for Radio Nacional Amazonas. Thank you, Brad Shaver. Hey, Different Gear TV, nice to have you here. Toxin. Good. So there's a lot of stuff, Mr. Dave Pizza had so much interference where he lived in the city. Not sure why I even bothered then. I wish there were loop antennas back then. Yeah. Well, there were. You could build one, but it was different. Definitely different. Craig Martinetti, 73, take care. Yep. Yeah. The broadcast, you know what, Skitology? The broadcast to North America in the last 2 weeks, I've tried to listen to Radio Romania. The worst signal I've had in years. Boy, is it bad. It's crazy. All right, Blogger Die. Cool, and see you in not too long in the CIDX Club Zoom. Cool. Thanks so much. And we'll be looking at that, and the videos will be coming up. And let me know how you want me to also kind of advertise your stuff. What way you want me to, Yeah, there's a CSA, there's the UL, and there's another one. I'm trying to remember the other one. I think the other one's a US one. CSA, UL, and I think it starts with F. I for some reason it's F. What was it? There's another one. Anyways, I don't know if it's still there, but it was another one back then in late 90s. So yeah. But you know what? I have the impression today all of these standards and these groups have no more meaning. We just buy stuff. When do you look at the fact that it has that sticker on it? Just out of curiosity. Anyone looks at whatever they bought and say, oh, it has this CSA or UL standard. That is good stuff. We don't. We don't even look at it. We just Yes, you know what? China is what Japan, the same thing as what Japan was. Because, yes, the early days of Japan manufacturing was a big joke. The crap stuff came out of Japan until someday, in the 80s, everything made in Japan was the best stuff in the world in electronics. And that's the way China's going. It, came from the crappiest things to it's getting better, and there's some darn surprising high quality stuff coming out of China now. And I think that's all it is. But, I'll say it all the time. I think it has to do, and a lot of it has to do with how much money you want to spend. how much money you want to spend. When you buy something and you don't want to spend a lot of money on it, expect that maybe it's not up to par to the big stuff. You know, one of the things I have a hard time was when some guy comes, I'll never buy another Texan again because I compared it to my ICOM, ICR, whatever. It's like, the first thing I want to say is, are you freaking kidding me? You're comparing a $100 radio with a $1,500 rig? Are you in the same planet that I live? I would not even do that only for the fun of it. So you got a $1,500 rig with 250 buttons, half of them which you don't know what to do, and you're comparing a $100 Texan on, well, you know, I tried to tune that USB signal in the ham bands, and oh, clearly my ICOM, of course, clearly your ICOM got it better. You got 25 knobs to try to make it better. The Texan does it on its own with the basic stuff it has inside. It's a darn surprising thing that it receives it. And this is where I have a hard time. When every time someone tells me, it's like, well, it's like when I come and say, it's like, well, I've compared my Yaesu FTD X10 to that XH Data D808. Oh boy, you know, I'm never buying an XH Data radio again. What? You can't compare these radios. They're two different beasts and not even in the same price range. I'm tired of people always doing that compare of, well, you know, my, oh, please, you know, please. You compare two things that are the same price? All right, we'll see it. Compare today's Texans with same priced 1980s radios. I'm going to tell you one thing. Texans beat them all. Beat them all for the same price. Okay? We've got darn amazing radios today for a price point that we never would have dreamed of. I mean, today we can buy a radio with a digital display. That's how cheap our hobby is like pretty much everyone can buy one. Back in the 80s, you had to have money to buy a digital display radio, and it wasn't even good. You know, we've moved on in so many ways, and we got to be careful with, you know, all of that. I find it just so funny when people compare stuff that are like, you know, light years different. I'm gonna tell you that. Nowadays, the label is not so important. Seems like everything is kind of integrated. Yep. Steve Pete, I read on Amazon review for a TV tuner today where the person was mad that you needed an antenna to make it work. Yeah, that's where you got to read the reviews, because there's a lot of stuff is like, well, I turned it on and, you know, I couldn't, you know, yeah, okay. Right, next. Let's see the next review, okay? For you choose, what made me laugh about stuff from Japan or China were the instruction booklets. Either you read them in French or English, they were incorrect. You know, but you know what? It's not even a China thing. I'm going to tell you one thing. The Yaesu FTD X10 manual is the crappiest thing you can hit, and that's a $2,000 ham rig. Manuals of any freaking manufacturer are bad today. Everyone. No one has a good manual. No one has a manual that's interesting. Most of them that have a really good one, you'll have to do it in PDF because you would have to pay $60 to get a manual. And I gotta tell you, crappy manuals across the freaking board on every freaking radio, even the expensive darn ham radios today. It's crazy. Kenneth says, I'm looking for a new radio with 100 knobs just for the heck of it. You know, Sheldon told me one thing, and I probably should do it. Sheldon told me, you know what? If you charge $20 per person in a Zoom meeting to explain to them what the Yaesu FTDX10 knobs do and how to use it and how to tune around, how to maximize its performance and everything, he says you're going to get tons of people that will sign in to your Yaesu FTDX10 course every time because they want to know how it works because they don't understand it. I don't know how many emails I got from people saying, hey, you know, can you make videos on your channel about the FTDX10? I don't understand half of the things. One of the most recurring comment, you made a video where you're making a contact, a voice contact. I noticed how you're putting out a lot of power. My FTDX10 does not do that. And one of the things I did notice is out of the box, if you don't touch anything, the FTDX10 is set up to the worst freaking setting you can understand. It is not the way it should be. You got to tweak and play with the dials and stuff to get the max out every time you transmit. And I know people don't understand their radios today. I mean, they are complex. You know, back in the 70s, you had 15 to 20 knobs. You understood most of them. Today, you get a ham transceiver. What do you get? You get a computer with 50 knobs, and each knob has 3, 4, 5, 6 different settings or things it can do, if not menus on a screen. And you're like, okay, my Yaesu FTDX10 easily has 1,000 different settings that you can do when you start looking at every little thing that you can change and the number of things that each knob can do. And it's like, okay, tell me how many human beings that are ham radio guys get on that radio and understand what's happening. You know, simple thing. You know, I got a comment the other day on one of my videos on the FTDX10. How can I see my standing wave, my SWR? And it's like, well, okay, well, you just tap on the S meter, and then there's 5 options that show up. One of them is SWR. You'll see what your standing wave is by doing that. It's simple, but yet, who will, sitting down on their own, think that you can tap the S meter on the touchscreen and that something will happen doing that? Even I, you know what? The other day, I accidentally bumped my arm on the screen and I changed the setting. It took me half an hour to find what I just did and fix it. It's like, oh, God. Imagine, and that's me. Imagine, that's me. Oh, God. Yeah, the Yaesu does the same thing, David. But what I mean by how they aren't great, they need to be 10 times that size, 10 times more detailed. They are not that complete when you put yourself in the, I don't know that much about the radio and the stuff there. Those basic and advanced manuals are not detailed enough. You will understand what they mean because you understand the radio and the stuff that they're supposed to explain. They are not detailed enough for the majority of people. A good manual for Nikon or a Yaesu transceiver should be 1,000 page. With today, what these radios do and all the buttons and stuff, it's almost that. You know, I'm exaggerating, but they should be several hundred pages. There should be more. The manuals today are based way too much on, you should already understand this basic feature so that we can explain how it works on our radio. This is where I'm going, and the manuals aren't that great. Because, I mean, the Yaesu manuals are the same. I mean, they have a basic and an advanced manual. They explain stuff. They don't explain it enough, honestly. And they need to be improved on pretty much every radio. Guys, I'm going to leave you now because in 15 minutes I have to be at the CIDX meetup, and I need to eat and I need to do stuff. And I want to thank everybody. It was an interesting discussion tonight. It's a lot of fun to be here. And it's really, really nice for everybody to be here. And thanks for all of you guys. And hope that you will be back next week at 20 hours Universal Time. Yeah, Joseph, that's exactly it, job security. So thanks for being here, everybody. It was a lot of fun. We had a nice turnout, and it was a lot of cool moments. Thanks for the donations, everybody. Don't forget that everybody that donated, you will also be in the drawing for CIDX memberships at the Christmas show and a surprise box. Don't forget that PayPal also can be used for donations. And thanks so much for being here. Next week, 20 hours UTC, will be, of course, tuning to bands, having fun with radio, and just being here having fun. So, love you all, guys. Stay safe. And see you next week.